Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight is another Open Lines. You call in and make the show night, World Wide Web of Weird Extended. And last Friday, I had the honor of being on Josh Turner's Paranormal Roundtable. Had so much fun. We decided to continue it. He should be joining us a little bit later show. He's just ending his usual Sunday show. But I think he'll be joining us tonight as well. We got a lot in the World Wide Web of Weird, a ton of stuff. I don't think we're going to get to all of it, to be honest. I don't know if we'll go the full 3 hours tonight or what. I mean, we'll see what happens. But I really want your phone calls tonight. If you got stories or experiences, to shout out to a young man out there. I'll just call him Tiger, is his gamer tag, for giving me a really good paranormal experience he had last night. Maybe we'll talk about that. I don't know. I told him to call in, but it is a school night. So, you know, if you're listening, Tiger, don't stay up too late to try to call in, okay? But I might talk about your story tonight. You can go back and watch it later. We got a lot of stuff tonight, so we'll see. We might do the full 3 hours. I don't know. I got to be up early tomorrow, but, you know, I missed having it. We didn't have a show last week. I apologize. You know, I kind of did it on purpose to build up more material, and now I have too much material for the World Wide Web of Weird. But, you know, I'm looking for guests. If you got any ideas, send them my way. Paranormal Soup, jbland@gmail.com. Got guest ideas and their contact info. Send it there. We got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get rolling into the show. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight, we're going to have special guests. We're not doing an interview. He should be here as Josh Turner. He's going to join us for the conversations and the phone calls. So like another part of the round table, like my beautiful co-host, you know, like he has his round table, I got the Paranormal Soup table here. We're all eating from the same bowl of weird. Is Jamie D every Sunday night joining me usually. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing well, thank you. I had the honor of appearing on one of his paranormal roundtables, I think, last year.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Show. It's a great show. He's such a great narrator. Fun. I was listening to his show tonight, and he's talking about some pirate, John Lafitte, whatever you say his name. He was talking about a pirate in Texas. Oh, hey, look, I'm already wearing my Goonies shirt. I'm all into the pirate thing. He's such a good storyteller. I mean, and telling people's real experiences, he retells them. Because a lot of people don't want to come on a show like mine and talk about it. I get it. It's easier to give your story, and that's fine. And if you want to do that, I'm not a narrator as good as you will find here in a minute as Josh is. But if you do want to tell me your paranormal stories, like I said, Paranormal Soup, jbland@gmail.com. If you don't want to come on air and just want to tell me a story or an experience, that's fine too. I am just as interested in Josh and reading them. I love them. I'm just not as good at retelling them, but I would do my best. We'll see how I do tonight with if Tiger doesn't call it, if I talk about his experience last night. But it's pretty cool. Me and my wife are doing some research on it this morning. We'll get into that. We got a lot of weird to get to, so let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, I thought we'd start out with doom. I'm sorry. I always have to do that with these kind of doomsday stories. And we got a few of them to start out, right? We do. We really do. Are we doomed? I don't know. Some days I think so, some days I don't. And most days I hope not, because I have children. I hope we're not in the last days, but these next few stories makes you wonder. First one is another one of those doomsday clock moves 1 second closer to midnight or Armageddon. For those listening on the Paranormal Soup radio channel on Talkstream's Live's Paranormal Radio app, we are a webcast streaming out to live to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you want to come watch, because we do have some video stuff tonight and some pictures and all that, you can. Or listen, and I will narrate as best as possible. All right, let me get my share screen up. I don't know if we got Rob tonight, so I will have to do it. Let me see here. Yes, this is why. Rob's much better at this, but I got it. Here we go. Well, let's hope. I don't even have the folder open. I'm doing really good here. Luckily, it's open lines. I can take my time. You know, no official guest tonight. All right, let's see. Should I have this ready? I'm sorry, guys. Yes. All right, here we go. I think we've covered a few of these stories over the years that they keep moving the clock closer. Press release. Doomsday clock set at 89 seconds to midnight. Closest ever to human extinction. Doom! Maintained by the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists since 1947. Well, it's... Wonder that was a great year to start that, right? The Doomsday Clock is a visual representation of how close the world is to the disaster based on political, environmental, and technological threats, but we got them all, such as nuclear annihilation and climate change. Now it has to be, as Elon Musk pointed out, nuclear annihilation or annihilation by AI? Is AI more dangerous than the nukes? I don't know. We can get into that later. Back in 2023, the clocks... Right. The AI... The nukes, we're a danger if somebody sent them off, but it's real danger if you get the AI control of the nukes, as Skynet would show you in Terminator. But anyways, back in 2023, the clock's hands were moved to 90 seconds to midnight. We covered that. And now 2 years on, they have been moved again, this time just 89 seconds to midnight. So one more second we've lost. Reasons cited for the move include continued threat of nuclear war, climate change, here it is, artificial intelligence, conflicts in the Middle East, it's not been going well there, and the possibility of another pandemic, of course. That had to be the last one. They had to throw that one in there for extra spice, right? Especially with the World Health Organization being threatened, right? Yeah, screw them. In 2024, the humanity edged even closer to catastrophe, the official's press release states. Trends that have deeply concerned the Science and Security Board continued, and despite the unmistakable signs of danger, national leaders and the societies have failed to do what is needed to change course. Of course they aren't. They're actually making sure we're down the right course for it. I'm telling you. Consequently, we now move the doomsday clock from 90 seconds to 89 seconds to midnight, the closest it's ever been to a catastrophe. According to scientists, the United States, China, and Russia have the prime responsibility to pull the world back from the brink. Doomsday clock is moving at the moment. Profound global instability and geopolitical tension, said former Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos, who participated in the announcement. As the hands of the clock get even closer to midnight, we make an impassioned plea to all leaders. Now is the time to act together. The existential threat we face can only be addressed through the bold leadership and partnership on a global scale. Every second counts. Well, I'm glad there's somebody out there pleading with these world leaders to get their crap together, but I don't think that's going to do any good. No, sorry. Next up, somebody else must be reading these headlines. And he decided to go door to door with it. I'm not joking. Yeah, so this is from Coast to Coast AM. And from another source, I think ABC or something like that. Watch, unsettling stranger and satanic mass appear at the doorstep of a Texas home with Revelation 21:15 on it. Revelation, 1,000 years. And Satan's released. That kind of stuff. Yeah. Nightmarish doorbell camera video from Texas shows a home being visited by a mysterious stranger wearing an unsettling satanic mask. And for those listening, it's like of the go-ahead variety. Let me get it. The video stop. Let me pull it back there. Let's leave it there so people get a better look at it. And in referencing the Book of Revelations, according to a local media report, the creepy incident occurred last Saturday evening in the community of Carlton. The homeowner, who opted to remain anonymous, explained that she received a security alert on her phone while she and her husband were out for dinner, and upon checking the notification, were stunned by what she saw. Standing at her doorstep was a large man wearing a red goat mask and holding a sign that read Revelation 21:15. It's about the end of times, understandably, Shaken Homer explained to the apocalyptic Bible verse. It's about Judgment Day. I freaked out. Fortunately, away from her home at the time of the area visit. I wouldn't find that fortunate. I'd be like, I wish I was at home. I wish I was home, because I would have confronted this guy. No, why didn't it happen when I was home? I would have been like, what the hell? I'd be right on that. Fortunately, away from her home at the time of the area visit, she promptly phoned police to report the unnerving stranger, but he had long since left the scene when the cops arrived. As one might imagine, the incident left the homeowner deeply disturbed and fearful that the goat mask miscreant would return to the residence. Those concerns were shared by the neighbors, who expressed bewilderment over the bizarre individual captured by the doorbell camera. While authorities investigate the matter, they indicated to a local TV station that, incredibly, the man who had not technically committed any crime of trespassing, so there was little they could actually do about it for his troubling visit. He's just going to go door to door and preaching Revelation, man. I don't know what side he's on here. I don't know. I don't know. He has a smartwatch on, I noticed in the video, and I don't know. It said they asked residents to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity. Should the goat mask stranger be planning to roam around the neighborhood again this weekend? The woman offered a word of warning for the weirdo, noting that people responding to her video on social media said that they would probably shoot the person if they popped up on their doorstep. And yeah, I think she's right. Like I said, I was one of those people that's like, I wish I was home and this guy knocked on my door. I'm like, what do you think this is, Jamie?
Gun barrels poking up in the...
I mean, what do you think this guy is doing?
Okay, did I tell you what happened when I was in the doctor's office the other day and the guy rode his bike into the laboratory downstairs, saying how, he rode in a beach cruiser, screamed into there, screaming, I need sanctuary, they're after me, I'm under political whatever it is, persecution. Yeah, he wanted asylum, and he was like going, and he started preaching all these Bible verses and had all these signs and things, and I could see this just being an unstable nut.
Right. I mean, I know they can't arrest him. He didn't break any laws.
No, and if he keeps coming back,
this guy needs to be picked up. Okay, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing?
At least an evaluation.
Yeah. I mean, this guy could be I don't know, serial killer material. I don't know. I mean, why? I don't get people. This was a weird one. All right, we'll move on. And more doom! Sorry. I keep apologizing.
I was thinking Futurama.
Doom, I tell you.
The alien doom.
Recently discovered asteroid 2024 YR4 may make a very close approach to Earth in 8 years. This is all over the social media today. It's thought to be 40 to 100 meters wide and certainly is still high, and more observations are needed to confirm this. I got the, from, what is this, 10play.com. 10play.com, yeah. 100-meter-wide asteroid has sparked global planetary defense procedures for the first time, with telescopic observations predicting that it has a chance of colliding with Earth in 2032. The asteroid 2024 YR4 was first seen by an automated telescope in Chile in late December. The asteroid has 1.3% chance of smashing into Earth on 22nd December 2032. So let me ask you this. Somebody said, I want you to stand right here, and I'm going to shoot my gun wherever. You have a 1.3% chance of hitting you. How do you feel about those odds? It's like only 1.3% chance. You're doomed. Oh, sorry. Or conversely, 99% chance of passing Earth without incident. You know, how unlucky do you feel you are? Or lucky, but I don't know. Recently discovered asteroid 2024 YR4 may make a very close approach to Earth in 8 years, said Tony Doon, amateur astronomer who shared visualizations of the asteroid on X. It should be 40 to 100 meters wide, and certainly it's still high, and more observations are needed to confirm this. Colin Snodgrass, a professor, that's his name, a planetary astronomer at the University of Edinburgh, told The Guardian that the asteroid will almost likely pass by harmlessly. Nobody will find out if you're wrong on that one. That won't be around to know if you're wrong. It just deserves a little more attention with telescopes until we can confirm that. The longer we follow its orbit, the more accurate of our future predictions of its trajectory become. That's the thing, they really don't know. The asteroid ranks 3 on the Torino impact hazard scale, which means the asteroid will have to pay close attention to, because there are 1% of a greater chance of collision in the next decade that would inflict localized destruction. There's only been one asteroid to receive a higher rating. Apophis made headlines in 2004, and it ranked to 4 on the scale. It was later downgraded as observations showed that it posed no threat for at least a century. But I remember talking to somebody that was a customer of mine who worked for NASA. And he said, that's the one I'm worried about, is Apophis. He's like, I'd be long dead, but I'm worried about my great-grandchildren. You know? He's like, that one could be bad. I said, yeah, we'll both be dead. But yeah, you worry about, then you got children, you worry about it, right? Doom! That's it. But, they got a 1.3% chance. Are you feeling lucky, Earth? All right, on to UFO stuff, because I know people want to know about this. Where am I at on here? Okay, or an article for. All right, so yeah, we've been talking about the whole New Jersey drone stuff going on for what, 2-3 months at least? I don't know. I mean, forever. And people are like, when's the Trump administration? They promised they're gonna get this stuff out there. Hold on, I lost my thing. Ooh. I don't think that's it. Dang it. I hit the wrong button. See? Damn it. No, don't do that. So scary when I do this. I'm afraid I'm going to hit the wrong button. There we go.
Yeah.
But, everybody's like, when are they going to come out with this? And then like, yeah, okay, so they did. Now, of course, the previous administration said that these things were not a threat, not a foreign country, but we don't know what they are. Blah, 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 right? And then Trump promised, we're going to get to the bottom of this. So, what is it? Let's just get into the article. Later this year, or late last year, the appearance of dozens of mysterious drones over an air base in New Jersey sparked a global phenomenon that would make headline news across the world. Nobody seemed to be able to explain what the drones were, who was operating them, where they were coming from, or what their purpose was. On top of that, efforts to intercept the objects routinely ended in inexplicable failures, like, them shutting down. Like something it could shut down the electronics in the other drones, police drones. Now, though, during the first press briefing, President Trump's second administration press secretary, Karen Leavitt, provided some new information about the New Jersey drone phenomenon. I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was excuse me, from the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office from President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of those drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. Trump had previously criticized his predecessor, Joe Biden, for not providing more information about the drones and vowed to release an update as soon as possible into his own presidency. So, Joe Biden's administration's answer, of course, was bull crap. And we all knew it. Especially since these things had FAA lights on them. And we had a feeling they totally knew what this was. And a lot of people are like, yeah, they're all military. This is all military drones. And then Trump's administration comes in and says, nothing to see here. Let's look at the statement. Many of the drones were, they were large numbers authorized by a film by the FAA for research and various other reasons. That would be our military industrial complex you're talking about there. And then they get into the hobbyists and all that. But let's go back to the first ones. Research and various other reasons. Do you think that's a suitable answer for when they say, I'm going to get to the bottom of this, look into it, and that's your answer? One, why were we lied to? Why were we told they didn't know where they were? And I know that doesn't fall under his administration's fault. They didn't make that call. But why was that call made? What is the various other reasons and research that is going on? You had people speculating they're looking for radioactive material from some terrorist threat. If that's not the truth, let's make sure we don't have people thinking doom. We had the Trump Tower guy saying that it was China and us up in that sky, and it was basically China testing our air defense. If that's not true, let's just right now come out with it. What was happening? Let's clear it. I thought we were supposed to be transparent. It's not being very transparent to say other reasons. Just leave it at that. Nothing to see here. Move on. No, I'd like to know what our military-industrial complex was doing up in the air with those drones, because definitely in military ones. But there's also things people saw, like glowing orbs coming out of the frickin' ocean. Transmedium. Oh, our military has that. Military-industrial complex has that kind of technology. Zero-gravity technology. You mean we could have free energy? Because when you get into it, zero-point energy and anti-gravity are kind of one and the same. But that's the answer we got. I'm not getting into politics. You know me. I really hate politics in both sides. I trust no one. And I don't put my faith in any of them. And you shouldn't either, especially when they say they're going to disclose things and be transparent. I'm just saying I think it's a BS answer. And inquiring minds want to know more. Again, I'm not surprised by this answer. Are you, Jamie? You're not unmuted, Jamie.
I expected it.
Yeah, it kind of felt like that's where it was going to happen. It really did. Mm-hmm. Maybe more will come out. Yeah, I really didn't. I mean, I'm sorry. Secretary of State Mark Rubio, people are like, he's trying to get disclosure on UFOs and all this. And I'm like, dude, but you look at the money he takes from Lockheed and Boeing and Raytheon. He's one of the biggest whores in the Senate to military-industrial complex. So these people are highly invested in keeping this stuff secret. So I don't have much hope of the Secretary of State there, even though he's going to be, we're going to talk about this in this UFO documentary coming up, actually having our best interest at heart of telling us the truth. But we'll move on. Because, there's still stuff happening there. I mean, I find interesting the last several days, sadly, I don't want to get into it, like conspiracy theories about the plane crashes. I really don't, because I can't even look at the pictures of the people that are lost, the children and all that. So I don't want to get into that tonight. If you call in, I'm not going to get into the conspiracy theories about the plane crashes right now. I'm not going to do it. It hurt. I see the impact these kind of losses have on families, and evidence will come out if there's something fishy going on. We'll find out, whatever. But I'm not going to get into that. But I will say it is weird what's going on lately. And then you have pilots having to deal with this weirdness. UFO alarm in Istanbul. Airspace pilots report unidentified traffic. What did I say? What would be the last thing I want to see in see a UFO place? See a UFO, witness one is flying in a plane. I don't want to see one while I'm flying in a plane. I do not. Logos report have highlighted a spate of unexplained encounters between pilots and unidentified unseen objects in and around airspace of Turkey's capital, Istanbul. The incident saw pilots receive traffic collision avoidance systems that seem to not work for other people. Warnings near Sabia Gakin Airport, prompting extensive search efforts to try to track down the objects responsible. On final approach at 300 feet, received a traffic alert. One pilot was recorded as saying it could be a drone or another aircraft for your information. Surrey had been dealing with it for the past 2.5 hours. A control tower responded. Several flights before you also received this warning. We have reported it to coastal authorities. You know, they go on and it goes on. And in this article, it says, earlier this week, President Trump's administration played down the drone sightings over New Jersey. But that's the other part of this. It wasn't really just New Jersey. It wasn't just America. It's all over. It's all over. So what's the research? What's going on here? Like I said, the answer here is BS. Anybody that watched me on Paranormal Roundtable Friday, I really get into this, the why you shouldn't trust any of these people from any administration or the government.
Rob's on his way, by the way.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Look at the group Palantir, and I might get into it later tonight. And, I mean, there's so many military and complex players into this, but Palantir is one that's really heavily involved in this new administration. And go look up on YouTube their drone promotion videos on their own YouTube channel. All that, and guess what was going on in December? Before Palantir was going to get in, which they donated big time to this presidency, for Trump's presidency, they're going to get a bunch of contracts, right? Well, Lockheed, I think it was Lockheed Martin, was up for a contract in December. What was it for? Oh, yeah, drone, basically for drone protection for police, local police, military, and I forgot what else, but it was basically for United States airspace defense with drones. And Lockheed Martin was trying to secure that contract. And no, we suddenly have all these news stories about UAPs and drones, and they're all up in the sky. And they had to make sure they got that contract secured before another competitor comes in. They're all up to no good. I'm just saying. All right, we got to take a break, and we'll come back, and hopefully Rob will be here. I think Josh Turner was supposed to join us. I think he still will. I know he was wrapping up his show. But we will open up the phone lines, though, when we come back from this break. And we continue with some more stories. I got a ton to go for a while tonight, but I'd love to hear from you guys. When I come back from this commercial break, call into the show. Join the conversation. You want to talk about any of these news stories, or maybe something you haven't heard me talk about tonight. Even if it's something that comes up later, I'll happily bring it up. You got a story you want to get to? Call me tonight. We'll talk. You make the show. That's what we're doing. Open lines tonight, guys. When we come back from the short commercial break.
You were brought here for one purpose, necromancy.
A ceremony dating back to the pre-Christian era. It's the art of reviving the dead. It requires involvement with evil spirits by the person performing the act.
The devil god brings life to the dead.
No, please. No, please.
And death to the living. Necromancy, starring Orson Welles and Pamela Franklin. From Cinerama releasing. In color, rated PG, parental guidance suggested.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and InterfaceDeath.net.
conducting an experiment into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Hello, I am Fernando Martinez. I think by now you know I am an emotional kind of guy. People stop me in the street and say, Fernando, what the hell is wrong with me? Silk shirt, hairy chest, enough aftershave to drown a household pet, but I still cannot get a woman. I tell them you are an ignorant fool. Without a symbol of power and fertility around your neck, what kind of woman is going to respect you? That is why I have teamed up with Medallion Man, the shop for medallion needs. Medallion Man caters to all levels of masculinity. For the strong, silent type, a medallion the size of a hubcap will say everything that needs to be said. Even singing medallions for the Casanova, who knows music is the food of love. Model trains, dollhouses, diapers, whatever your interest, we've got the medallion for you. Don't forget, every woman knows if you can't support a medallion, you can't support a family.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe. 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, it's open lines. World Wide Web. Wow, I messed that up. I don't usually mess it up that often. World Wide Web of Weird, extended. And I already got somebody calling in now, so hang on there. We'll get to you in a second. I want to hear from you guys. You make the show. What do you guys want to talk about? A lot of stuff going on in the world. You know, we'll talk. I did stipulate I didn't want to get into the whole pile of the planes crashing conspiracy. If you really want to get into it, you can. I just find the things so heartbreaking. It's hard for me to talk about those things. I don't like to get a conspiracy about things when people die like that, tragically, and I don't know anything. I don't know anything, do you? We can talk about whatever. You want to get into that. We'll open up the lines. I really want to hear about your paranormal experiences. Like I said, I had a 14-year-old reach out to me last night. One of the things I love doing this show and telling people and being honest open about doing this show and about my experiences, that people reach out to me when they have one right away. And this kid did, and if you're listening, Tiger, I hope you call in. We got a lot to get to, so let's go get rolling back into the show. All right, so I'll leave it up to the chat room. I don't know. Let's see who we have on the phone first. We'll take a phone call before we get back in the story, because I got some more stuff on the whole UFO thing, why I think, and a lot of this part of the next few parts of the World Wide Web of Weird are about kind of what's been going on with the drone thing and my perspective on the BS answers from this administration and the last one. We'll get into all that. Like I said, I'm not getting into politics. I'm talking about just the BS of our, the secrecy in the government. That's it. That's all. I want to take a phone call because that's why I like doing this kind of show. Who do we got on the line?
Heather.
Hey, Heather, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there.
We have any more Dogman signs?
It's still around, but we've just kind of gotten used to it. It's
How do
not
you get
doing
used-
anything but
So how do you get used to
it's
that?
not doing anything but staring at us through the window. So, I mean,
It's just a dog man at the window. Just ignore him.
that's pretty much what we're doing right now.
Wow. I mean, so you guys have had
But-
this. I'm sorry. I know you probably call in for something else, but first question in my mind. But you guys have been seeing it like through the window and stuff like that still?
Yeah, it's still around. So.
Wow. All right. I'm sorry. I had to ask.
No, I've had a weird experience at my job. Right behind us is the Rockwell Aerospace plant, and when I go outside around 7:00 ish for a smoke break and everything, I have been seeing this one single ball of light hovering over the aerospace.
See,
I've noticed there is no sound. There's no other lights, just this one clear light
and
and everything.
Restricted aerospace, right? You know, the restricted airspace, right?
Oh, I'm not sure too much about the aerospace.
Yeah.
I know that Mom was saying that it was on the hit list.
Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah, it's been there since January 1st. It was there tonight again, but it's been there through the whole month of January. And the weird thing about it is, because I don't hear a sound coming from it or any other lights coming from it and everything.
Is there a color to it? Is it just a single light? What is it?
It's just like a white light.
White light, okay.
Like a white ball of light, and it stays in one spot. Because the first thing I was thinking was drone, but you would be able to hear the sound coming from the drones.
Maybe.
I would think.
A commercial drone or a hobbyist drone, yes.
Huh?
A commercial or hobbyist drone, yes. A military drone, I don't know. One meant for stealth and not, for you to detect, except for it putting a big light on it.
But I went out one night a little bit later on and everything, and right around 7:45ish, I watched this thing fade and disappear. And then a minute later, it popped back up, and then it stayed there for 2 minutes, and then completely disappeared.
Wow. See, well, that's my thing.
And I've been trying.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I've been trying to videotape it so I could send it to you, but I haven't had much luck with working and everything in between.
Don't lose your job over it. But I was trying to film this for Paranormal Soup. No, don't do that.
But I brought it up to my boss, and my boss can't explain it either. And I actually showed it to him one night and everything, and he watched it fade and everything too, and he thought that was weird because he said that the drones that he knows, they usually have another colored light or something on them, or you'd be able to hear them, and this is just a clear, white ball of light staying in one spot in the sky above the aerospace.
Wow. Well, that's my thing with what's been going on. One of the points I was going to get to, too, with this whole explanation from the new administration, is that, this is experiments and research. Well, as far as I know, I've heard from many sources on the news, even, if you can believe the news, but I've heard it from other sources. These things are over restricted airspaces. They're over infrastructures that are sensitive, like power plants and military places. And if this is a research or what's going on here, all these flights were approved by the FAA over restricted airspaces and infrastructures. Did they know? Police didn't know, because the police were sending up their own drones trying to chase these things down and then they were getting turned on. Like, none of this makes any sense to me. I'm not saying I have any clue what's going on or what you saw or what's going on, but I do know that our explanations are not very transparent that we're supposed to be getting.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what that is, that you're seeing, over there, if it's a drone or something else. And that's my thing. People are reporting seeing these things. They do things that they're like, well, that didn't appear like like a man-made drone. What kind of technology are we talking about here? And if this thing's hovering up there and silently, I don't know.
My theory, my thing was, and my boss's thing was, we watched it fade out, and completely disappear, and then reappear right in the same spot before it actually went completely black.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
That's what we thought was really, really weird about it.
No, that is weird, Heather. And I mean, I'm hearing it in my own local town, Michigan City, that people are. I know some drone hobbyists in this town, and it's not them, but other people seeing drones. I get told this all the time. That's why I said I love just being open about what being weird and doing this show, and I just don't care anymore what people think of me, because it gets people that know me locally to let me know. So I love it. I just have no answers for them. I don't know. I don't know if it's alien, government. I still don't know what they're up to. Looking for radioactive nuclear terrorist bombs. I don't know. I just flagged the AI on here, I'm sure. Majorly with that. But you know what I'm saying? I really don't know. I don't know. I think it
if I can get a video of it, I'll send it to you so you can see it. But
yeah, we'll throw it up here for everybody to see if you're good with it. As long as it doesn't get you in trouble at work. That's all I stipulate.
Oh, my boss says I'm not going to get in trouble or anything, but I just can't stay out for the whole long duration. So
yeah, like I said,
it's always there from like 7 o'clock at night, and then it just completely disappears like 45 minutes later.
I mean, it could be that installation putting their own drone up for security. People are using drones for security now to monitor their locations for security and all that.
I just wanted to know what your intake would probably be for it, because I don't hear a sound from it.
Yeah.
My boss didn't hear a sound coming from it, and it was just that one ball of light, no other lights with it. So.
Wow. Tonight, guys, you have drone alien. Even if it's a drone, you know for sure it was like a drone, but it was weird. Call in tonight. We want to hear about it. It's what's going on in our skies, and I think all of us talking about it and getting it out there, people posting on social media, keep videotape. You see one, try to videotape it, like Heather here. Just don't. It's not worth losing your job.
Yeah.
To do it, but send it my way. Paranormal Soup, jbland@gmail.com, guys. Heather's a friend. She'll send it to me on Facebook. But, if you have footage like Heather's trying to get to me, Paranormal Soup, jbland@gmail.com is a good place to send it. Well, thank you for calling in, Heather.
Yep.
And
bye-bye.
Hey, keep me posted on the Dogman.
Yeah.
I know you're like, it's just Dogman out the window, but I'm excited for you. I want to hear what happens. You get a picture of that. Now we're talking, man. Ooh.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm really trying, but
yeah.
The weather out here is kind of weird. So
maybe you get a picture of Dogman in your window, man. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll try.
All right, Heather. You have a good night.
You too.
All right, bye. All right. I see we got people coming in from Paranormal Roundtable. How you guys doing? Josh Turner's show. We were on there last Friday. Hey, Nellie. That's Nellie there. And I want to say, there's Nellie. There you go. And I want to say thank you to, let's see, how do you say this? Stratagem for $3 and $4 super stickers. Yes, super stickers. You can donate, help pay the bills for the show. And they are going up, sadly. But it does help with the show. And we're also on Patreon if you want to be a Patreon member. Not to say that I do a lot on my Patreon. I'm trying to get better at it. I'm trying. I should check on my Patreon right now. But you can get me messages through Patreon on the live show, which I'm checking right now. And it helps pay the bills for the show. And I'm going to try to do more stuff on there. I'm limited in time. All right, so yeah, we're talking about drones tonight, aliens, UFOs, and all a bunch of other weird stories. I got more stories that are way not anything to do with any of those topics. I got a bunch of stuff we can cover tonight that's going on in the news. But of course, I wanted to get this out of the way and talk more about this whole UAP disclosure that they say is going on. That we're getting disclosure. I'm sorry. I'm just one of those people. Like we're getting it out in the conversation, and people are able to talk about it. It's a good thing. There's some people in the government that want to get the truth, but I have my serious doubts. Joining us now, I want to bring him into the channel. Rob should be on his way. Is Josh Turner himself? Wolf, how you doing?
Hey guys.
Well, the show. I know you were ending yours. I don't know if you got to hear any of the beginning. We kind of covered a lot of stuff we talked about last Friday on your show.
Oh, really?
And I'm kind of into it right now because of the BS explanation from this administration and the last administration, and the whole disclosure thing, and them saying they're doing research and various other reasons, right? And I'm like, and EPA or the FAA approved all these flights, right, over restricted airspaces, and police didn't know about it. And there's balls of light, big ones coming out of the ocean or going into the ocean. Speaking of that one, I got one up here from one of our congressmen has that kind of questions too. Tim Burchett, underwater UFO moved at hundreds miles per hour. While unidentified aerial vehicles have been getting a lot of press in recent years, U.S. Navy witnesses have also reported another adjacent phenomenon, underwater aerial vehicles that seem capable of traveling at immense speeds and then can sometimes even transition into the air and vice versa. Speaking in an interview recently with former Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz, Republican Tim Burchett also has long maintained that the U.S. government is withholding information. Really? On UFOs and alien visitors, describing something that the U.S. Navy admirals and allegedly told him. They tell me that something's moving at hundreds of miles an hour underwater, as large as football fields underwater, he said. This was a documented case, and I have an admiral telling me this stuff. And, you know, he gets these closed sessions where they show him stuff, too. You know, where he's not supposed to talk about it. But he's got admirals. People are coming to him. I want to say thank you, Susie, for the $5 super sticker. Thank you, thank you. Have you seen? Did you get to watch the Jacob Barber thing?
No.
We talked about it.
Not.
Yeah,
I haven't been able to do much of it. I had to prepare for the show.
I know.
And it was a lot. But it was a lot of work. I had to do a lot of research.
But what's going on is that, you know, I don't know what I see from the narrative that we just got from the White House is that nothing to see here. It's just drones, and they're just doing some research. Nothing to see here. Moving on. But there seems to be a lot of things to be seen here, and it doesn't seem like they wanted to be kept secret, right? They had all that lights and stuff, right? It seemed like they wanted us to definitely see them and question it. Like I said, in December, Lockheed Martin had a contract up for basically I can't remember the name of it. It's a defense program for basically our airspace with drones. And they're coming in, or they're going out with because the new administration's coming in, and they got a big pals called that Palantir. They have their own drone thing. So I feel like this was maybe some of it was drummed up for, people are right, maybe a psyop to get Congress to move on this defense budget before the new administration came in and came with their military, industrial complex people and gave them the contract instead. I don't know.
You know, it's funny what you're talking about. We kind of talked about that on my show earlier. Something very similar, but it wasn't about. It was no UAP,
Yeah.
Well, one of the stories did have an orb, but it didn't have that. But I mean, there was these beings that come out of the water. My brother.
Yeah, I heard that
story. Yeah, we covered a story from Galveston before when I was doing the research. I found one that me and my brother had unearthed. We had told this one on the show before, and it was about a mermaid type, mer creature coming out of the water. And so my brother, when we started doing this together years ago, he's not real big on being on the show and all that, TV and all that. But I mean, he definitely.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. He helped me get this started. And one of the things we researched quite heavily was underwater phenomena. And he's still a big believer that a lot of this stuff comes from within the ocean.
Right. What better place to hide if you're going to be on Earth?
We know more about space than we do the ocean. I mean, if space exists in the way that they say it does, we don't even know if it's really space in the way they say it's space. That's the thing. I mean, what is that? We don't know. I mean, we were talking on the show with you, Jason, the other night about the Jianjing, and of course, they believe that the Earth is inverted. But on the show, we talked about on the show, I believe it was on Wednesday's show, where we do a live stream that's just like, we get numbers almost like we do on Sundays. And it was a guy was telling me about Australia and about what's inside the center of Australia. And they were getting these giant lizards, not like reptilians, but like.
Well, they have the Aborigine have ancient tales of these giant snakes. I don't even want to call snake or dragons or whatever. It's the same kind of like dragon lore you can find out all over the world.
Yeah, these cattle stations. Now that's what they call ranches over there in Australia. And the Gwen family they were dealing with mutilations, predation really, and then half-eaten animals and they would see these giant lizards that looked like small dinosaurs. And of course, the Aboriginals told them, "Hey, these come from the dream time." And they're like, "Okay." They have different things like the dream time, the before time, and there's another one that they call
Dream walk.
Yeah, it's yeah, and the dream walk
it's
is
almost
where
like
they,
reviewing. Remote
Mhm.
viewing is what it seems like
Yeah.
early for Aboriginals. Like they would use, I think they used a psychedelic too, didn't they?
Yeah, a lot of them do. Yeah, and there is another thing where they go and they do this walk, a physical walk in toward the interior. If you want to be a shaman, and you have to not, they only take enough water for they can only carry the water for a couple 3 days, and then they're on their own, and they survive somehow because they know where the water is, and there are these steam vents that come up out of the ground, but those are also used as walkways or pathways from inner earth beings. And some of these things are flying beings. Some of them look like orbs. Some of them look like reptiles. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that's down there that we don't know what it is. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that not only are there dumbs under there, but they're sharing the space with ultra terrestrials, extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call them. And that's what we're dealing with. And so one of the things that I believe is that the inner earth, it also involves the ocean. So underwater craft is very plausible.
Oh yeah, and think of the physics of that. I mean, the technology we do. There are drone companies that are making drones that go in and out of water that are transmedium, but it's very rudimentary. If you see the videos of it, and this is supposed to be the greatest technology of it, it's pretty impressive. But it ain't like what I've seen on the videos. The stuff we've shown on this show of stuff coming up and out of the ocean, it ain't moving 1,000 miles underwater and then flying up in the air. None of those that kind of technology we are currently showing have. Now, if our government has that technology, it can be transmedium and do that. Like I said, we're talking 0-point energy here. We're talking anti-gravity, manipulating the space around the friction. The friction from the water itself to move that fast underwater, would be intense. Not only the pressure changes all that. Now, if you have anti-gravity and you're able to make your own space around your ship, none of that affects you. I want to say thank you to what we got. We got Charles. Thank you for the 1999 super chat. Thank you. What we got here, Jason? Do you think all of the disturbance or disclosures mean the government has no choices but to soft disclosure because there is something big incoming they cannot keep quiet? And you hit the nail on the head, Charles, because I've said that on the show a bunch of times. Is that the possibility? I don't know if that's a possibility, but it's a big one that revolves in my mind all the time on this. All the time. Is that, do they know something big is coming? And that there is some date or point of that there's no way the secret can be kept anymore. And yeah, they have to show some kind of soft disclosure. I've always wondered that. Do they know? I mean, I think about times and stories of urban legend in the UFO community of like the Jimmy Carter thing. He promises in his campaign that he's going to tell us and be transparent about UFOs, right? What's going on? He's going to get down to it because he saw one. And then you get the story about him meeting with George Bush when he was director of the CIA and telling him, you don't have a need to know, basically. And people
Bush
seeing
had a
him
lot of power.
see him like this, like with his hands in his head, like almost in tears, like they did give him the truth. And he realized what that truth was so horrible that he could never tell. I don't know. I've seen interviews of people asking him afterwards, and he still gets that kind of glassy eye. Makes you wonder what he was told. Is there some end date? It's a scary thought. I mean, is that why we got soft disclosure now? Or is there some secret war going on? I don't know. I'm just looking at all the things happening around the world and wondering myself. We got another phone call. Almost missed it there. Got so much we're talking about. Who else we got on the line here?
Hello, Jason?
Yeah. Yeah, you're on the phone.
Hey. You recognize me as Under Fire, Josh. You've seen me on your show a few times.
Yeah, how you doing?
I thought I'd drop in. Yeah, I'm doing good. Yourself?
Good. I'm getting better from the flu, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry you have to go through all that, man.
It sucks.
I'm sorry you have to deal with that.
Yeah, but I'm getting better. I woke up really lungs just, but as the day went on, I got better. So
Yeah, it's early morning when it hits you the worst.
Yeah, the morning is when for me, which was the afternoon, because I went to bed early last night for me, 5 a.m.
I knew you were going to say
That was
that.
refreshing. I was like, a couple extra hours. So what's going on under fire? Sorry, Jason, go ahead.
No, I was going to, what's the name? I missed your name. I'm sorry.
Under fire.
Under fire? Under fire. Okay, awesome. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, I don't want to use my real name online, at least at the moment.
No, that's
at least at the moment.
Perfectly fine.
You hail from England, right?
Actually, I'm from Canada. I have
Canada, right?
something with my speech. It sounds like an accent.
There's another guy. Oh, I'm thinking of Joel. Never mind. He calls in sometimes when we do the call-in show. You and Joel, kind of. He talks though that accent. Sometimes I mix people up. I'm sorry. Go ahead. But I know who you are. I've heard a lot of your.
Yeah, no worries.
What do you got going on?
Yeah. Well, I thought that Jason, I would at least send you one or two stories because help you out, and I think you're a good channel, and I think I'd like to share. And of course, Josh being here is a perfect opportunity. I've mentioned it before to him. He's talked a bit about something called the Glimmer Men.
Glimmer Men?
You see, like some sort of entity, and it's kind of like a see-through, glimmerish kind of form.
Yeah.
So one incident I had happened last year. Was actually, I got my notes right here because I keep notes of everything. Yeah, last year. I came home, it was a Friday evening, middle of summer, there's people in the house, everything's fine. I had just went out to a restaurant, came back home, and I went to open up the door to the basement, and there I see an 8-foot tall, the head I would describe, if you think of a Komodo dragon, but broad in the head, and give it round horns on the top of its head. Slender body. This is a brief moment, so it wasn't like my ability to see the full, study the entire form, but not pretty slim, not bulky, pretty slim, but definitely a little bit intimidating. And it's standing right there, and it's just looking at me. I can see the black eyes a little bit more sloped forward. Yeah, it's like you can see forward a bit more.
Yeah.
And it's just sitting there, just looking at me. So I don't know if I caught it. It was doing something, I caught it. But it's sitting there just staring at me, and I'm just looking at it in a moment of shock. And I dealt with a lot of stuff, right? So at this point, some stuff's kind of coming together puzzle-wise. But I'm still looking at this thing, I'm going, not in my house. My family is literally in a room right beside from this door. Right? So I got people I love and care for at home, and I'm like, I'm not having this
You're ready to
come into my home and, terrorize my family. So I think I'm going to rebuke you. In Jesus Christ's name, I'm going to rebuke you. Right. As soon as I twitch just the first few muscles of my body to run down the stairs and rebuke it, the lighting the mood a little bit. It's like almost like one of those cartoons where you see the pole come out and pull the cartoon character to the side of the screen. Yeah, pretty much like that. I just shot right off. Wow. I booked down the stairs, went around the entire basement, and nothing's there.
Wow. It's weird you bring this up. Because last night, you were talking about being up to 5 a.m., John.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to go to bed at a decent time, and I ended up staying up late because my wife will leave on A Haunting, on the TV. And I got sucked into it because it was mentioned Bill Bean, who I've had on the show a few times. And I don't know if you've had him or not, but you should. He's awesome, Gus. And it was just a rough association. He's been in several A Hauntings, but the two people in it, one of the main story was about a guy who had seen this Egyptian mummy. And then he had these experiences, and I really related to his story because it was the same age area, and he was being attacked by this crocodile reptilian-like creature.
Sobek.
Right. And I related to his story really hard last night. I could not go to sleep because I had to watch it all because I'm like, that I never seen that A Haunting episode, but it's not that I ever saw a reptilian person, but the way that this thing was attacking him and the way it would come after him and isolate him was so right on.
Do you know the name
same
of
like age period. I missed it. I missed the beginning of the episode. I'm gonna have to go on. I have Roku. I'll go look up and find the episode because I want to watch it again because I would like to contact him and the other guy that was involved that worked with Bill Bean that helped do a deliverance ministry on him because he went through something similar too at a young age where these things attack you. Usually at night when you're trying to go to bed. But when you're alone, like this thing was attacking me in the middle of the day when I was alone, like it was doing to this guy in the episode. So it's interesting because, this whole scene of like a reptilian lizard-like being just in your home. This is what this guy's experience is, just like you.
Yeah, well, I'm convinced this thing was one of the Draco. I've studied a bunch of study. I've talked to James Bartley, and there's reptilians, and then there's the Draco, and then there's other beings apparently that are above them. I'm in the theory that these other beings, you can call them dragons, whatever you want, they created them. I just currently, I can't 100% say that, but this thing I'm pretty sure is a Draco, because it fits a lot of people's experiences that James talked about. Like there was a differentiation, but they are related. And they're disturbing because what they can do particularly as well, they can phase in and out of different densities. They can be right beside you, and you can't see or sense them unless they make themselves known, which, of course, later, this happened just last month. I'm sitting there on my phone's beside me and my computer. I multitask a whole bunch. I'm listening to one of James Bartley's episodes of the Draco experiences people had, and it's near the end, and it's playing on my phone in the widescreen. And all of a sudden, something had to pretty much put its finger on the YouTube bar and slid it back almost to the beginning. And I saw this in my corner of my eye, just it slid right back up. It was right beside me in the house, in the basement. I was alone that day at home. So, yeah, that's kind of them pretty much telling me, it's like, oh, we've been around watching you this entire time.
Do you think it was trying to tell you something in that video? Like what it rewound it to? Was it?
It didn't go right to a specific spot, but this video, I could literally put up a link of it. It's about like an hour or two long video, but it talks about everything about what these beings can do, how they've been manipulating people.
Well, whatever it rewound
some of
it
the
to,
stuff I recognize.
I would be like really interested into what it actually rewound it to. Like maybe it was trying to tell you something. Yeah. Like give you. I'm not saying. Well, I know you're like it, but I'm just my curiosity killed the cat, right?
Well, I didn't rebuke it. Yeah, I didn't rebuke it that time. I just kind of chuckled and I'll tell you honest truth. I forgive even this thing. I forgive the Draco. I've forgiven, like, I've experienced a lot of stuff in my life to this point. It's only in the last few years I've kind of put it all together. So pretty much I have a target on my back. That's what I'm convinced of.
Yeah.
They definitely didn't want me, some of these things didn't want me to live to this point. I'll put it that way. Other things have been watching me. It's a lot. But one of the things I learned from James Bartley, and this is recently, just in the last few months, I'm hoping to do a show with him eventually. So I'm not going to say exactly what it is, because if someone, you can go online, you can find how to do this. You could call it, it's not magic, but it's like a type of like, it's not really meditation, but it's kind of like a inner ritual you can do to kind of get a spot in your mind where you can summon things in and question them, and they kind of have to tell you the truth.
I'd be very
you have to do things to make sure it's purified after every time. Yeah, you have to be, I'm really careful with this type of stuff. It can be really dangerous.
Yeah.
But
anything that I'm sorry, when you say summoning it in, I just for some, somebody has gone through being tormented by one of these things, whatever these things are, you might get what you ask for. Don't summon anything. Is my actual advice to anybody. I would not summon anything. Except for God.
This is a little bit different. This isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. This isn't a Ouija board ritual. This isn't anything like that. It's like a I don't want to get the name of it because it's in a chamber. It's within your mind.
I get it.
It's like within your being, and what it is a specified set place.
Under fire, I completely get what you're saying. I completely get what you're saying.
Okay.
But when you
don't want to summon anything.
When I go on investigations, I will have investigators I've chided because they'll go, "You can use my energy to I'll be like, "No, stop. Do not give anything permission in any such way." I got in my trouble with my shadow entity or demon or whatever chased me down, I believe, because I said, "Come on, come at me." Like I did the whole "come at me, bro" thing to it, the stupidest thing you can do. I challenged it and gave it permission. Said, "Oh, you want to play? We'll play." I'm just saying people got to be very careful.
They do. I do agree with that. I agree. I've seen someone who's done something once, the ritual. It was something I strongly discouraged them to do. I definitely discourage it. As far as I've studied from this, this is still a little bit different. It's a very set way where it's pretty much anything that's evil and negative can't do shit. They don't have permission. It's like almost like a separate void you would create, right? And it's just like you control the laws of that reality, and whatever comes in has to obey those laws. And actually, a lot of prayer, I've been a lot of prayer encouraged to do this, from praying to God, Jesus Christ, Jesus Father, and the Holy Spirit. In this thing, mostly I've communicated what I would call my higher self, and I've did reveal that on Josh's show. That's another experience I can share. But I have seen this. I've talked to being mostly. I've talked to good stuff. There's only one time recently I summoned this entity to get somewhat of an idea what it's doing. Because you can ask them what they're doing. They have to tell you truthfully. They can try to avoid talking and stuff like that, but they usually have to try to tell you the truth, or they just won't speak. So I've got a few understandings, a few themes, and definitely I've been spot on and stuff. But of course, this whole magic thing, I'd be very careful. I won't say the name of it because it's kind of like giving anyone a tool or a gun or something. So you can use that for good, or you can use it for evil. This magic thing I'm showing this.
There's a great guest of Art Bell's, Evelyn Paganini, that he used to have on the show. She was what do you call it? Is it Italian witch? Or what do you call them?
Oh yeah, there's a name for it.
It's a name. And she used to say it's easy to be good when you don't have the tools to be bad.
Yeah.
You know, she used to say, and I loved her interviews, and people are like, she's a Satanist, she's a witch. I don't care. I loved her interviews with Art. And I'm just saying it's such a good point. And I think that's why I'm not saying people not to do magic or do rituals. I have friends that do, my wife that's done Wiccan. No, I'm not saying that. But you have to be careful what you do. You know, what your intent is, what your goal is, what you're going to do, what you want out of it is what your intent is. Because these things want to give you power. They'll make you feel powerful, just set you up. There it is, Striga. Striga and Barbara. Yeah.
I was waiting to say it, but she...
I'm just word of caution for my audience. I'm not saying you do what you got to do. You obviously are researching what you're doing. I just give that warning because we're going to talk a little bit tonight about psionics tonight too. What's going on with the claim of the U.S. government contacting aliens and people now getting their Ouija awards out to summon alien ships. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, I've heard of that too.
I think you'll have a bad time if you're trying to summon aliens with a Ouija board. I'm saying.
Yeah,
one of my
not a good idea.
Encounter with a Strega that told her some weird stuff. Just kind of felt like she was being stalked and didn't even know the woman. So
yeah, you got to be careful. Those Stregas.
I can't remember the whole story, but it was really weird. I mean,
Evan Paganini did not sound like a lady you wanted to piss off.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you don't mess with a Striga. If they tell you you're a Striga, then thank you. Okay, very nice to meet you. Be very nice. Hey, Under Fire, I want to thank you so much for calling the show and sharing this tonight, man. And I find it great
absolutely, man.
I literally was up to 3 a.m. watching this episode about a reptilian like that. It's something that I'm definitely interested in, and these kind of experiences people have with this can be life changing. And just be careful.
Yeah.
I
agree, and I'll end this with this, like maybe. So yeah, this isn't channeling. Is there anything like that? Who gave me this knowledge of how to do this was someone who actually told me about my experience with Jesus Christ intervening in my life. I always pray to Jesus, His Father, and the Holy Spirit, and I take this with extreme caution. And I've prayed on this a whole bunch before I even began doing it to make sure it's clear that this is okay. And this is kind of a test, I think, too. Right? It's use this for good and don't use it for evil, right? So this is almost kind of a test, if you will. Something very cautious. The only thing I've done is to try to get the truth from these entities, and usually the only being I talk to is my higher self. I'm very careful about doing this anything else. This thing can be very dangerous. This ritual, it explains kind of some of the other stuff people can do with it.
Yeah.
The only person who would ever share something like this, too, would be, I would say maybe Josh Turner. Because the only person I know who's of such a high moral caliber that I would trust with it, right? Because I'm very careful about sharing something like this with anyone. But I'll get off of this bit, and I'll end it just back to reptilian stuff. Like, I've had so much experiences. I don't know, do you want me to share one more story? Or do you want me to switch off so you guys continue on with the show?
You can share one more. What do you got?
Well, I've said this on Josh's show before, but I'll say it again because you'll want to hear this. So this happened a few years before this, and this kind of began my journey eventually to Jesus Christ, His Father, and the Holy Spirit. But what happens, I had to go for a surgery. And they had to put me under for the surgery, obviously, because it was a semi-dangerous surgery. You didn't want to be awake. It wasn't life-threatening, but you get put out for the surgery because you don't want to be awake during it. And what happened was, in the space before I woke up, I am in this kind of dried up riverbed valley, and I'm talking, like it's like just like come out into awareness, and I'm talking through mind speak, as people like to call it. I like to call it mind speak. To this big black, and I'm going to call it a dragon lizard-like being. He's kind of sitting, hunches 4 legs. His mass again is about this mass. You take 2 bulls and you put them together. That's about the size of him. So he's quite big, quite big. And we're having a high-level, in-depth conversation. And in this conversation, I stop and I go, "Oh no, I'm going back." And he gives me a nodding kind of look, like acknowledging, like, "Yeah, you have to go back now." And then I wake up instantly in my body being wheeled out of the surgery room.
You know, this is common. Are you still there? Kind of like...
Yeah, I'm still there.
You said you went quiet. I said, but this is common. People have had like these kind of experiences when they're going to surgery and get put under anesthesia, having these experiences. And I find, you know, you keep revolving back to something that you see as reptilian. And I wonder, you know, I'd be interested to see what if you had a past life regression, to see what connection.
I was given something. I did a prayer to the Father of Jesus Christ, and I was granted, would you say, a vision. I don't really want to explain that. That goes into great depth, and it's kind of a whole thing I want to eventually have Shout of Josh and do a whole show about my beginning of my life all the way up till now.
We'll see
because there's so many weird patterns. And, but I was given a divination. Yeah, I was given a divination because to answer some serious questions, because I learned enough and I had questioning stuff, and it's really hard. It's really hard because it's a lot. But I was kind of shown why this all is. But it's...
Best thing you can do.
That's another story I would have to say.
Write it all down. Make sure you're writing it all down under fire. Thank you so much for calling.
Oh, it's all written. Yeah.
Good. I was to make sure.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, guys.
All right, man.
Hey, you have a good night, everyone.
You too, man.
I'll see you under fire. Good night.
Whoop, step that in. I hung up. But he's talking. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I found it, you know, I seriously was up to like 3 a.m. last night because this haunting episode came on. I have to find it. I was going to try to find it today, and I forgot. And then he calls in about seeing this reptilian. You know, you notice how he keeps having this experience, and you wonder, you know, if you get into the whole echelon of the idea that we might have lived many lives on other planets, that idea, all right? And some of us could be alien souls. They talk about starseeds and stuff like that. This connection that he had, like this being he saw when he's under the anesthesia, talking to him, didn't seem threatening in that situation, right? Is part of it like a past life. Part of his like, you know, maybe even a guardian. People, you know, the reptilians get a bad break, and I get it. I don't like snakes. I don't like reptiles. But there's some people that have positive experiences with them, and I know there's people like, no, you're gonna have a bad time. And like I said, I wouldn't summon anything. I honestly think you'll have a real bad time. You take a lot of chances when you're summoning stuff, so you got to be very careful. And I was telling you this on the show, with the release of this information, this Jacob Barber interview that was on News Nation, where he talks about the government using psionic agents, people that work for the government that can communicate, like he said, mind speak or telepathically with these beings, even draw their ships down so he could shoot them down, right? And that this one being telepathically was communicating with him. You know, that people are now getting the idea that they can go out there and do a seance or a Ouija board and call aliens down. I saw a whole article on this. I don't know if people are actually doing it. You know, but I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. You know, we'll do the live spirit box stuff on here. I take my own risks a little bit at a once in a while on this show. We'll do it. And we'll try to talk to some alien stuff. We have a good time with it. I feel all right with it, but I warn people, don't do this stuff all the time. Don't do this stuff at home. Don't summon things. Don't give things permission. Don't give things permission. I'm telling you that. Don't be like, use my energy. That's like the worst one. We got another phone call. What's our time? We got about another 15 minutes before commercial break. Who do we got on the line?
Oh, it's Summerside Lake.
Hey, Summerside, thank you for calling in. Oh, real quick, Summerside, before I forget, I just want to say, because I was in the last call, I want to say thank you to Paula for her $4 super chat. Thank you. Hey, Summerside, thank you. You've donated quite a bit to this show, too, so I want to thank you.
Yep, no problem. I've tried. I can tell you something. I'm not sure about how long before you take your break, but
we got about 15 minutes.
Remember the last time I called in? Okay, so the last time I called in, I told you about a place that I was working nearby. The place that I was working at, there's been a lot of strange stuff happening around there.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting a new manager, and he, in his wisdom, decided that, in a nice way, I needed to go. So they terminated me. So I was not allowed to tell you the name of the place, that building that I had to run in with. That
I don't know if you should say it on air. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Yeah, you might not want to still say the place.
Yeah.
It's better not to tell names.
I just thought say it on air.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing was that right after that happened, one of the guys that I work with there, he called me and talked to me, and he told me that the facility that I was working at is now having the strange incidents happen there now.
Really?
And so it's whatever that thing was or is, it had a boundary, but it somehow has been able to cross the boundary now. So it's now in their facility. So the person I was talking to told me, he said, jokingly, he said, I wonder if because you're an empath, he goes, I was wondering, maybe it was just you kept it at bay. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I don't think that was the situation. And he just told me, well, he goes, because there's lots of stuff happening. And there's machinery breaking down. There's pipes breaking everywhere. He says, it's just like something's going through the facility, just busting up all their equipment. And he goes, like, motors will just all of a sudden burn out for no reason. And, there's no reason for the motor to quit. And now they're replacing motors like crazy. And I was like, well, I don't know what to tell you. I said, I've had a lot of weird stuff happen, but this thing, how I learned about it was what Josh Turner had said on his show, was that they had that thing with the funny teeth, the sharp teeth. Yeah. That's what I talked about before.
Yeah,
and that one was.
I had to make a short. I had to make a short video of that one from the when you called in. I put that because it was such a good.
Yeah, well, I actually, if I've got a couple of minutes, I can tell you something else that happened. Like, I've had a lot of weird stuff happen too, as your other caller had said. Do I have a couple of minutes or?
Yeah, you got you. We're going to break in about 9 minutes.
Oh, okay. I'll make it quick. Okay, so if you're familiar with northern Saskatchewan, there is a lake called Candle Lake. And this Candle Lake has had a reputation for a very, very long time. This happened about, the last time I was there was in 2015, but what ended up happening was we went camping, and normally we would get a cabin, but we decided, my sister, her husband, my brother, and me, we decided to take the tents instead. So we camped at this lake, at the Candle Lake, towards the northeast corner, or correction, the northwest corner of Candle Lake. So it's very, very remote. There is no power. It's called level 1, which is basically, it's just a campsite. There's no power, there's no water, there's nothing. The nearest place to get a shower is more than 3 city blocks away, and there's only one street light, and that street light is halfway. So what ended up happening was, after being on the beach for the day, everybody decided we're going to go, and the shower situation is set up that there was, on the northeast corner and the northwest corner are the women's washrooms and shower rooms, and then on the the northeast and northwest, then on the northeast and west and south and east are men's. And so what ended up happening was my nephew and me, we kind of fell a little bit behind everybody else, and they got ahead of us. So by the time we got to where the light was on the road, and it's just like a pitch black road. You need a flashlight to walk down the road. In other words, like you can walk right off the road. It's just a dirt road. And what ended up happening was we got there, and all the showers were already running. So we were like, oh, great. My sister, her daughter, and her 2 sons, and my brother, they had all taken up all 4 showers. So my nephew and me, we sat outside one of the showers, and we were just sitting there talking. And he was telling me something that he'd seen when we were on the beach. He'd seen something moving through the tree line. And he said, he goes, do bears stand up? And I said, well, yeah. I said, but there's bears around here, but they're not, they shouldn't be anywhere near us, though, because they should be going around campsites, our patrols, so they wouldn't be near us. And he goes, well, it was just really weird. So we're having a conversation about it. And all of a sudden, my brother comes walking out of the one shower. And I looked at him, and I said to my brother, I go, oh, thanks, we really appreciate it. And he goes, appreciate what? And I said, well, you guys took up all the showers. And he goes, oh, no. He says, my other nephew was in the one washroom there. He goes, we don't know who's in this one. Well, the shower was running. You could hear the hand dryer running inside. The lights were on. And the only way you can have the lights on in there is if you're in the room. You have to be in the room, and the sensor picks you up. And then you lock the door, and you can use the shower and washroom and hand dryer and stuff like that. So what ended up happening was my sister comes out with her daughter, and my other nephew comes out of the other one. So we're like, well, who's in this one? And no sooner than we say that, and the door unlocks, the lights go off, the hand dryer stops, the shower stops running. Well, they turn around and leave, so my nephew and me are just sort of sitting on the curb, and we've been at that door the whole time. So we're like, okay, we're just going to take this shower. Nobody comes out. So my nephew gets up, he walks over, he opens the door and he looks in, and he's got my flashlight, and he looks in there and he goes, hey, Uncle, there's nobody in here. And I said, that's impossible. There's no way out. And the only way is that door. And we've been sitting here the whole time. We've been here for 15 minutes. And he goes, this is really strange. And I said, yeah, this is like bizarre. So I said, okay, well, let's just go in. So we go in. He's using the shower, and I'm sitting because I hadn't shaved in a couple of days.
I don't know
I
how
look
you guys are using the shower in this scenario, but at night I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. Well, I'll leave it at this. What ended up happening is that I'm standing there taking a shower, or like he's in the shower, I'm taking a shave, and I'm just washing my hair and getting the sand out of my hair and I hear the door handle like go click, 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 and I'm like, oh, and I thought it was my brother, so I open the door, there's nobody there. So I close the door, and then my nephew says, he goes, hey, Uncle, and I go, yeah, and he goes, whereabouts are you? And I said, I'm over here by the sink, but he can't see me because of the glass curtain up there. And then behind the glass curtain is another pole shower curtain. So he tells me, he goes, I can hear someone talking. And I said, well, they must be outside. So I open the door and I walk back out. I look around. I couldn't see anybody. I go, this is really strange. So we turn around. He now gets to the sink, and I go in the shower. And while I'm in the shower, he comes up and he's all panicked. And he goes, Uncle. I go, what's the matter? And he goes, there's somebody at the door, and they're knocking on the door. And I go, okay. I said, but just don't open it. And he goes, it sounds like a little kid. I said, don't open it. I said, there's no kids here. I said, that same thing happened when you were in the shower and I was shaving. I says, I heard someone knock on the door and rattle the handle. I said, so just go out there. So after we're done, we start walking back down the road. We get back to the cabin, or correction, to the where the tents and that are. And my sister had said, I sure wish we'd gotten a cabin instead of being in the tents because the mosquitoes are crazy. Well, we ended up telling them about what ended up happening. Well, the bizarre part is about 35 minutes later, my sister's husband, his sister showed up with her husband, and we were just telling him about what happened there. And he was telling us that there are massive reports all along this lake of reports of people seeing strange lights, strange beings walking around. It even happens during the daytime, which ended up happening to my niece the next day. She saw a native guy walking around, and she said he looked like he was from the 1800s. And she dropped her ice cream cone and took off running. And I didn't really do much research at first, but when I got back home, I got on the computer and I looked up Candle Lake, Saskatchewan. And if you get a chance, look it up. You will be amazed at the amount of reports of stuff that goes on in there. It's so bizarre. It's a very, I'm sure if people were doing ghost hunting there in the summertime, they would most likely tell you that this is probably an extremely active facility. Like the showers are one thing. If you go into Candle Lake, there's a small little town there inside Candle Lake. And it's on the, I think it's on the southeast corner of the lake, and that's another area that sees a lot of bizarre things happening. So that was one of the things that has happened to me. I got lots of others, but I'll clear the line now, and I'll talk to you guys later. And I guess I should let you know that I'm having a little trouble with our local EI department, so I'm going to be kind of limited to how much I can give for now. So okay. I'll drop 20 for tonight, and then I'll do what I can the next time, okay?
Hey. If you don't have the money, don't do it. That's what I'm saying. It helps support the show, but make sure you're set first. That's all I say. I don't want to take your money if you need it. You need it.
No, it's okay. But I appreciate you guys listening to me.
Hey, I appreciate you, Summerside. I love your calls, and like I said, you blew me away the first time you called in with your experience. So thank you so much. All right, guys.
I think I got dropped.
Oh no, you're still here. I'll let you say you want to say goodbye to Josh too. He's here with us.
Oh yeah. I never had a chance to call into his show yet, but
you should.
I guess at some point I will. You can always point them towards the story about the that thing with the strange teeth.
Yeah.
That still bothers me to this day. So
I bet.
I'm just sorry I ever saw that damn thing.
Have you emailed me before? I don't know.
No, I ended up, because I'm in Western Canada, I actually ended up winning one of your T-shirts, but it cost too much to send. So I didn't. Yeah. Oh yeah. Canada is just it's ridiculous. Like we're in big trouble here. So I'll leave it at that. But
well, what's going to happen with that? Just real quickly, let me tell you something. Just real quickly before you got to jump off. So you know what? As soon as we get the deal with 7 Clay done, which is not on there and it's on ours, we don't have time. But as soon as I get that done, if you win from now on in Canada, we're just going to send you the money and you buy the shirt from them, and they have a whole international shipping deal, and they'll just send you what you won. So if you keep it in mind, as soon as it's set up, we'll send you that money for the shirt, and you can buy whichever shirt you want off of the website. So that will be a deal. And if Jason
I'll tell you what,
wants to be a part of it, you can too. There's going to be several other YouTubers, podcasters, and authors that are going to be on that catalog. So you can order from them, me, whoever.
Oh, okay. Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. It's going to change a lot of things.
That sounds good. Yeah, I hear you. Okay, I will clear the air now. I can actually just go back and watch the show.
All right.
And thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. All right, have a good one.
A lot of Canadians.
Okay, bye.
Man, they got some haunted stuff happening up in Canada all the time, man. It's a lot of land territory there. I know, Josh, you texted me like, you sure you got to do a break? I do breaks for one reason. I drink this coffee and this water, and I'm running up to the bathroom, running back. But I will make it a short commercial break.
Well, you can do the break. I'll stay on with the people until you come back.
If you want to monitor the chat room, if you want to, Jamie's able to do that with.
I mean, Jamie can, unless Jamie's got to go use the restroom. Jamie and I can take over, so we don't have to break the continuity of the show. And
if you don't, nobody can take the phone calls on that. But if you want to chat with the chat room, I'll be right back.
Chat with the chat room.
All right, chat with the chat room. I'll be right back.
Okay. So now I'm in charge. Jason's gone. Yeah, like see, now you got me. So no, I'm dealing with some work stuff. Let me put that away. So I've spoken to what's his name, Under Fire, a couple times, maybe I think at least once or twice on the show, and I'm not real sure which all stories he's told. We've had open lines on there and had a bunch of people trying to get in on the queue. We don't necessarily have a call-in number though that you do. We just every now and then we'll do like a deal, where you can just jump on and like on the Patreon. If you join the Patreon, we're going to be doing a show every couple Mondays. It may eventually get to where we do it like every Monday. It was a big turnout on that first Patreon show, so we're going to be doing that. So folks, if you're a Patreon member, that definitely for Paranormal Roundtable, it's a lot smaller, more condensed version, where we can all just talk and hang out, whatever. And if you followed me from the other show, thank you. I appreciate that. Jason needs some guests, and we definitely have a lot of people that he can do. We're going to try and get him some guests here. Shouldn't be too hard. There's a lot of people in this community. But if there's any subject that anybody wants to throw out there, I always say this, and I've been turning down a lot of offers to do. People think I turned down the book signing offer. I did not. And people who showed up there, 40, 50 people, whatever, that showed up, because that's all that it holds over there at the Magic Time Machine. I was sick. Okay, folks, it had nothing to do with anything other than me being sick with the flu, and I was too sick to travel. So I didn't go. But if you did go and you went there and paid your hard-earned money, I apologized for that. But it's not my venue. The money that they gave me, I gave it back. So, and that was Christopher Jordan, Rod Nichols, and Ryan Edwards. Good guys over there in San Antonio. Ken Gerhard, Edward Monge, the film producer. All those guys are really good guys. I have a lot of good friends from San Antonio. I love going up there, and but we will be doing something again. We'll be doing a book signing. We're thinking about doing it at Dragon's Lair, and you guys are welcome to go check that out. Another thing I wanted to tell you guys is if you guys are here from Paranormal Roundtable or not, we're willing to give away some merch here on the show too with Jason. So if you guys want to be picked for something, you want to win something, just let me know, and I'll have the guys, Anthony, Tony, or Maddie. She's not a guy, but she's part of the team. But probably won't trust Kiem or Tony to do the giveaways because something always comes up missing. They're like, "Hey, I got my giveaway. It was an empty box with a sticker." Wow. Somebody was not stoned at all. I'm joking. I'm just saying. Kiem's like, "I didn't smoke weed that day. I took a pill for my non-existent asthma, and I slept for 2 days."
Somebody just got rocked on live. Paranormal Soup. Hey, I want to say thank you.
They can say nothing.
We had another earlier from Stratagem, another $20 donation. Thank you so much. I want to get to this. I know I had so many articles, and I told Jamie, I said, Josh might come on the show tonight. I said, so all these articles I share, we're probably not going to get through them, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine, because I'm rather much have conversations with the people calling in tonight. And Josh, I said they're there in case nobody calls in, which has happened, and like the last couple open lines nights here, because I can't find any guests. And then I end the show early because nobody's calling in. Well, thank you guys that are calling tonight, and thank you for the donations. I do want to get to this because we covered this on the show a couple weeks ago, and Mystical Wonderland made this point. Like I said above, the biggest confession of Jake Barber is the GATE program and what they do to the children. I know all about it, and he's glossing over it. He doesn't even. Does he even mention the GATE program in that interview? But GATE, we talked about because it was this program run by in the 80s and 90s where they were trying to test kids, and people have come out that were tested saying, I don't think this was just about IQs and stuff, that this seemed really odd, the questions and things that they would test us for, like they're testing for what? Psychic ability. And this is where, what did I say on the show? Exactly what Mystical's saying here is this is where they found these people, these psionic agents, is through a program like this. So she's right on the money with that, and what she else said on that. No, Anthony, it's the gifted and talented education program, but actually they use Gateway type stuff on the kids. Gateway is a whole other thing, but they're not very original in these secret programs. Gateway is the program to basically do the psionics, but then they named the program for these kids just Gate. Like I said, they're not very original.
Yeah, the whole thing with Lockheed too. Like we covered a story from someone. We've had a few people give us stories about being in programs, and there was one. God, I can't remember. Maybe if Anthony can, he's in the next room in the lounge. There was a story we covered, and I can't remember the guy's name. He said his name, his first name anyway. I don't. Even when they give me last names, it's just better for their safety, mine, and everybody else's. The locations, even sometimes I'll say the location, and there'll always be somebody go there, and I know all the security and about the whole city. And they'll call me and be like, "Why did you tell them what's going on?" I'm like, what does it matter? Just tell them to leave. Are they cutting it with wires? Are they jumping the fence? No, then you don't need to use non-lethal pepper spray on them.
Ziriana, call in. I saw Ziriana ask if she can call anybody. Call in. If I hang up on you, if you call in, it's because I have a rudimentary phone system here. It ain't no big studio. I have cell
You should
phones
just let
plugged
them
in to
jump
take his
on.
numbers.
Put the link on there. Let them.
There's a lot of people don't want to come on video, and that's why I
Well,
set
they
up
can
the phone
just
lines.
don't use the video. Just
yeah, they can do that too, but you got to be careful who you let in with that link. They can screw up your show. So I don't like to post the actual phone call link in here.
Yeah, it takes some balls to do it, but you got to be.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
We had somebody that was literally they were saying that they were being dropped off at like this daycare while their parents went to work.
Yeah,
and they just followed them the rest of their life. Anthony, if you remember what that was, I don't remember who that was. It's been months ago on a show, but they were telling us like this person was like, they had dropped them off and they were being used to do things.
Was their family in the military?
When they were kids?
They were children.
Right. There's so many of these kind of stories. Usually always involves one member or both in the military. And these daycare facilities they were using. And running like a special program for, we could say, super soldiers.
Yeah, I mean, they were being taught things that were not normal.
Right.
And I'm trying to remember who it was, but this guy, he had told us all this stuff like he was able to do. He was, it said, Anthony says that was a live stream, but I'm not exactly which one. I don't remember, and he could do all this stuff, but it was like, he knew a whole lot of stuff. Like, I mean, he said the key words, and he didn't really seem like he was interested in this kind of subject per se, but it was like part of who he was, He grew
up in it.
I just can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember. There's been so many different stories,
Yeah, but what better way to track these kids, because they can track them through the healthcare system, through the VA, and through the military. They're on insurance, and one of the parents is a lifelong kind of military person too. But you hear these stories in the super soldier programs and all this stuff. Now, there's a lot of con artists in the whole super solger echelon of people. I'm just saying, be wary.
But some of them aren't very good either. They'll just
but I believe there could be some people because this myth, urban legend of super soldiers, and people are like, why are you saying urban legend? I'm saying there's so much built up around it. I think there's truth to it, big time truth. I believe our government was trained and has super soldiers and people they've trained. There's just a lot of con artists in that vicinity of that what I call urban legend.
They do
right,
shows,
but this one's a big one, full of a lot of people I could call out. I don't want to even get into. But I do believe in it. I do believe, of course, we did this. We got a Freedom of Information Act proves we were very much into this. So I believe it. I just there's people that tell all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't know what to believe beyond knowing that they had this kind of program. But look, we're still hearing stuff about it. We got somebody else on the line. Who do we got?
Hi, Jason. It's Ariana.
Hey, Ariana. Thanks for calling in.
Hi. I put in the chat room. I had some more new information on the aliens and stuff. UFOs
as an experiencer,
and I had a couple of questions also. And hello, Josh. I was watching your show before, so I really am kind of hooked on it now.
Thank you.
You get hooked quick.
Well, yeah. So anyway, this past couple of weekends, since I've been noticing that the aliens that abducted me have been around me, and they appear like shadow people, and they're not negative, but they're just they can't form, so they can only come. I can only see them as like a shadow person.
Yeah.
And they've been giving me more messages, and it doesn't. It kind of relates to the other stuff that I have been writing, and it's. I don't know. I'm very concerned about it because I've been used to them abducting me either without my permission, and now they're like near me a lot closer. And I don't know, it's not negative. I don't feel threatened, but I don't know. I don't know. I can't find the words. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. It's hard to find words for these kind of experiences.
I don't know why I'm being protected.
Yeah.
That's kind of it.
Yeah. No, I get it.
And
just, I you're seeing these, you're having these, like, now they're, I've talked to abductees that, like Terry Lovelace, and I really, when I told him about my shadow person experience, and there's a couple other abductees that they see these things. It's like they're being monitored, and all they can make out of the beings is this shadow being. And it makes me wonder, like I always said about my experience, did it feel like alien? Well, I don't know why a sadistic alien would want to come down and torture me. Mine was a very negative experience. But, just be cautious, and, some people tell you to rebuke them in the name of Jesus or whatever religion you believe in, that you should, that you probably should kick them out.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Strega witch, so.
Well, that's right.
See,
we were trying to remember the name. You should have just, Don't mess with you. Yeah. Don't mess with her. Don't mess with Ziriana. That's right. Don't mess her.
Well,
the aliens better watch out. That's what I'm saying. They better watch out.
There's that line, I don't cross,
Yeah.
But, Evelyn Paglini, they always wanted the other side, the dark side of Strega or witchcraft. So they would always.
She could get pretty dark when she talk about stuff. She
but she was telling the truth.
Yeah.
So I can validate some of that. So.
She was definitely one of my favorite guests. She was definitely one of my all-time favorite guests I had on, was Evelyn Paglini.
Yes, unfortunately, she did pass away, but many years ago.
I heard her family keeps it going or something. There was some drama with that too. I don't know, but I heard
I don't know. I'm not. I haven't followed that page. I used to just listen to her from on the Art Bell show.
Yeah.
But the other question that I had is that if the government is using alien technology, including drones, pandemic things, diseases, and they're for the bad part,
Various
negativity,
reasons.
evil,
Various reasons.
I think the aliens are very mad because they've turned it. It could be good, it could be bad, but they're using it for bad, and control. And I was wondering if there was any, if you knew of any especially Josh, he looks into research, and Jason, I know you look into research, but I think Jackie Gleason, I don't know if he was friends with Richard Nixon or something.
Remember, you didn't see
maybe?
that show? Paul Blake Smith. He wrote a whole book on it. We've had him on. I have the book up on my shelf. I'd have to grab it. Wrote a whole book on that. It's the urban lore in ufology that Jackie Gleason, who was friends with Richard Nixon, that Richard Nixon took him to see alien bodies. Paul Blake Smith did some great research on this subject. I highly recommend it. Go look it up on Amazon. You can find the book. Gleason and Nixon UFO. Like put Paul Blake Smith in, you'll find his Nixon Gleason book. It's definitely very interesting. Sorry.
Okay, I do know that Jackie Gleason had a house like a UFO.
He did. He was very much into it. He used to go on radio programs with a host in New York that was very much into that stuff, but way before Art Bell and even and talk about it.
I was
a whole library on the subject.
You're right, but I was wondering if Nixon had told him the truth about UFOs, aliens, and et cetera, that how scary was it? And why was Richard Nixon the only one to, give this information to Jackie Gleason and not everybody else?
You need to get Paul Blake Smith's book. I tell you, I highly recommend if you're into this, especially UFO history. It's such a good book, and it really gets into those questions you have. He doesn't try to answer anything definitively. He just tries to present you what he can find research-wise, but it asks those questions, and there's some answers in a sense. Richard Nixon was facing, he was getting ready for re-election. He needed money, and he also knew what was coming down the pipeline with Watergate, and he needed a lot of money for court. He knew he was going to be going to court. Eventually you all know how that turned out for him. He had to resign, but he needed money big time, and Jack Gleason had money, right? And he needed money for certain things he needed under the table paid off for people, like the lawyers' fees for the CI people, like Ethan Hunt, Howard Hunt. Sorry, Ethan Hunt's Mission Impossible. Howard Hunt, people like them that were sitting in jail for breaking the Watergate thing, they needed to pay their lawyers' fees without them being associated with it. And I think they funneled the money through people that they got donations from for that under the table, like Jackie Gleason. Because these guys all got on bond. Somebody paid for that bond, during the whole Watergate thing. And I think he got it from Jackie Gleason. That's one of the reasons. And Jackie Gleason, he's like, you give me money, I show you dead aliens. And why we don't have presidents that get to know about this stuff anymore probably is because of Richard Nixon. Honestly.
Nixon was a problem for them. There's a whole thing about that because Nixon, he knew he was asking questions as soon as he got in office. One of the things that he did, which people are shocked by, but I'm not, is because he didn't want to be killed, which everybody since then has wondered about, was JFK.
Yeah, he overheard a conversation.
He did, and he was scared. He's like, they killed him, they can kill me. They can kill any of us. And he was
Barry Goldwater and somebody else. He was part of the conversation.
Kissinger. It was Henry Kissinger, yeah. And there was another guy too. I know that Bush was involved, and Daddy Bush was a big time player. But Kissinger was the one that set him up too. This is also why get this, Bueller, why he resigned from post. He was in politics. People don't realize that. Ben Stein used to write speeches, and Nixon was his last client. And he knew everything, and he said he was going to take it to his grave, but we don't know. He's made a few comments here and there. It's really weird. I bodyguarded a guy who was friends with Rob Schneider, who was really drunk. I'm never going to say
Rob Schneider.
Yeah, he was Rob Schneider's friend, and this was years ago. It was 20 years ago. This dude, he's drunk at a bar in Alaska with me, and the guy was popping off in front of all these people, talking about, I know things about Hollywood that none of you know. And one guy was about to pop him. He's a native guy, and he was nice to me. And he said, can I hit your friend? I said, unfortunately, this punk is paying me. I'll take him out of here. And I got him out of there. We get in the car, and he's mouthing off to me and the driver and his buddy who keeps turning around and telling him to shut up. And he's like, no, I'm going to tell you something, man. You don't even know. He's like, aliens are real, vampires are real. He starts telling me all this stuff.
This
about
is Rob
people.
Schneider?
No, Rob Schneider's buddy. Like he was. This
Buddy,
is how
okay.
I got the job. Was like, yeah,
I got you.
Okay, so they all used to go downtown and drink. I know this guy, and I probably don't know who he is, but his name's Peter Dante. You might not remember him. Waterboy, he was the bad guy. He was, he was the villain or whatever. Then he was in Grandma's Boy. He's been in a lot of movies.
Love those movies too.
Yeah, so I was there at the mall one time, and this guy was screaming my name. I didn't know who it was. And I look, and it's him. And so then he was screaming my name, and then in PRTs, apparently he listens to it. He was with his son, and they were there, and so we got a bunch of pictures with him, me and another YouTuber. And so we started talking, and he was telling me how he was friends with Rob Schneider. I know he is. He's friends with Adam Sandler and a bunch of other people. But he knows that dude, too, that this guy that I'm not going to say his name, but I bodyguarded this guy. I used to bodyguard a lot of people, and some of them were famous. And this dude was popping off drunk about all kinds of stuff. And he was saying that he knew Ben Stein, and that on one of the sets of some movie that he worked on, this guy's a D-lister or whatever, not a nice guy, but he goes, Ben Stein told me himself, that aliens are real, and that one time Nixon had taken Jackie Gleason to see UFO. This guy was telling me this. This was back in like 1999 or something like that. This is 99, 2000. And he was telling me, he says, dude, this was a real thing. And he was just, and we got back to the hotel. He kept talking about it. It was, and he said, the reason they did that to Nixon is because he knew too much. And then I did a deep dive on him years ago, and I found out about the whole gold in Fort Knox thing. He asked that question. He was like, why is there no gold in Fort Knox? What the hell is going on? Of course, he said all kinds of politically non-correct things too, like, why are there so many Jews in
why don't you say on the show? I don't know.
Well, no,
why don't you say? I know.
Yeah.
Like,
AI doesn't understand you.
Because it's in the Nixon tapes.
It is. Oh my God, the Nixon tapes are awesome to listen
running
to.
this media, blah blah blah. And everybody was just like, dude, this guy's just saying stuff. So Kissinger, who was knee deep in horse shit all across everywhere and across the world, he's like, maybe we should do something about this guy. You know too much. So we can't kill him. We already killed the other guy. We got to get rid of him. Let's disgrace him. So he had a talk with him, and he said, hey, you're not going to win unless we bug this hotel.
Right, exactly. And
Nixon
the deep
was like,
throat comes on the line.
Yeah, and he's like, you really think we should do this? I think this is probably unethical. But I mean, if you think we should do it, we should. I'm so turned around, I don't know my ass from my head. So they were like, yeah, this is what we got to do. You'll win the election. And sure enough, they bugged it. Then they said, hey, go send in the clowns. And then they busted him. And he's like, look, I was following directives. I'm not a crook. I'm like, yeah, well, a lot of Nazis and communists were just following orders too. And look at how that turned out. So that was the key right there. So this guy, when he was telling me all this, I was kind of annoyed by him. And he was a little pipsqueak. And I was just like, look, dude, if you think you're schooling me on something, you're not. Okay. And I told this guy when I was 15, I saw a werewolf. And then he was like, me too. I was like, shut up. So I quit. Maybe he did, but he was talking so much craziness and drunk, and he was on stuff, and I was like, get out of here. But I might have should have listened more. But that was an interesting thing, because I've had multiple conversations with people from Hollywood who I know that are my friends and athletes and things like that. And they get invited to these wild parties, and yeah, it's nuts, dude. Like they some of these people will flat out tell you. I know a very former UT basketball player. I've known him for years. And this guy goes, I get to the NBA. I go out there. We're playing the Clippers. He goes, and I go to a party. And this party was sponsored by a very particularly famous rapper, not Diddy. It was another guy.
So you better clarify that one.
Yeah, no, we're not going to get with it out here. I'm just going to say this real quick. But he says, look, I go to this party, dude, and they're drinking human blood. And I'm just like, I'm over there at the UT training facility, and I'm with a very large powerlifter.
So gross.
Of mine, and I'm sitting there, and we both look at each other. And so this powerlifter friend of mine, he's very famous. He used to be a wrestler or whatever. And he's like, are you kidding me, bro? For real? And we were both there, and I was like, we're doing the strength and conditioning there. And I said, you gotta be kidding me. He goes, nah, bro, for real, dog. Like, they was drinking blood, bro. He goes, they were like bringing out young people, dude, like young people. He's like, man, I told my guy, I said, get me out of here, bro. And they were like, nah, stay home. He's like, nah, man, I'm good, dude. He says, so him and another rapper, they got together. They just like left together. And that other rapper, I don't know 100%, and I could be completely wrong about this, but I think the other rapper that bounced out of there was Kanye, because he made it sound, he was alluding to it being him. And they jumped in a limo and they took off. And so when he told us that, and then a couple days later, I went back, as it was an every other day job thing, whatever, 4 hours a day. I did it really just for the fun of it. But I went up there to the facility and they were just like, yo, you believe that, bro? I mean, these youngsters were asking me, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I mean, like, I'm supposed to be the guru of paranormal. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, like,
yeah, but we're not
stuff.
It's like George Carlin said, it's a big old club and you ain't in it. Neither am I.
Right.
Neither is she. Neither is there. We don't know what they're doing behind, these parties as club doors until you're in that spot. I mean, look at the Eric Cappy story where he starts telling all this stuff about Tom Hanks and all this other stuff, and then he ends up jumping off a bridge.
Well, look at what happened to
right before he died. He said it was all a joke.
Yeah. What's his name? Chester Moore, right? He was looking into this. He kills himself. Unalives himself. What's the other one?
Chester Bennett?
Chester Bennett. Sorry,
Lincoln Park.
Like,
And then,
6 of the guys making that video, I think, all ended up having something.
We're going
happen.
way off topic from what Azaria originally called in. I'll let you go, Azaria. Sorry.
Gotcha. Can you put it in either in the chat room or something, that book, so I can look into it?
You know what? I will find it for you, and because we're friends on Facebook, I'll send it to you. Just remind me if you forget tomorrow.
Okay. There you go, John.
Chris Cornell. Yeah.
Thank you, Ariana. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
No, this is how it happens on Paranormal Soup. We go down. We just go all over the place.
I do have a lot of experiences from being abducted and various other things that maybe Josh doesn't know, and I look forward to a show, and maybe I can send him some stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Please.
Yeah. Tell people the email to send to you.
Josh Turner at prtpodcast.com. Josh Turner at prtpodcast.com. Thank you, Azuriana. Thank you for listening to our show, too.
Thank you.
Have a great night, hon.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Be safe.
Bye-bye.
But yeah, you what goes on. I hate accusing anybody of being Satanist or without any proof. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the hard part for me about it. But look at the symbolism that they throw in stuff. Look at the things. It's like they do flaunt these kind of things in our face in Hollywood all the time. So it's like Hollywood, you don't want us to say you're Satanist, but then you do this. You know what I'm saying? Like constantly.
Did you guys see what Putin said the other day?
Oh yeah, the vampire cult. Vampire ball is over. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like he was speaking Russian. He just says it point blank. I have multiple friends that are Ukrainian, Russian, and some are in between. My friend Eric Konevsky, Russian gangster, great prank channel. Go check it out. I love it. It's funny. He was in the gym the other day. Just give you an example. Going in there, paying kids $100 to shave their broccoli heads. He's this big menacing guy. I'm going to shave your head, and they're like, okay. But he gives them $100.
Hey.
So he was shaving their heads at the gym, and the gym told him, "You need to go. It's not a barbershop, whatever." He's like, "Why?" But he's half Ukrainian, half Russian. There's actually a lot of people that are. But it's funny.
Ukraine, it's a border.
Yeah,
Russia's a huge. It used to be Russia. It's a huge territory. They've been invaded through that territory by the Nazis. People need to understand the history of all that. That's a whole other show.
A lot of them fought for the Nazis for the reason that the communists
in that area
starved them. The Holodomor, which took place long before World War II. In the 30s, and Hitler used that, not to sidetrack, but just get into this for a second here. He used that in his speeches, and one of the things he said during the Nuremberg rallies, which before their trials were there were rallies, and he said the place that could be the breadbasket of all of Europe. He's like, and people are starving to death because of the NKVD. And he used that as a rallying cry. And then later he teams up with them, which everybody thought was odd, but he had the plan to backstab him, because they were going to backstab them. And there was this former Soviet operative that had defected during the Olympics of all things. He was there as an agent, and he defects. He's in Western Germany, and he was like, "No, I defect." And then they let him. He took a big chance, but he goes, they were pamphlets that were made up by the Russians They were going to invade the next summer in Germany. So if Germany would have waited 1 year, it would have been the opposite. They would have been on their heels because the Soviets were going to pretend like we're liberators, and then they were going to close the whole.
Well, they were allied. They were at one point allied.
Well, yeah, they were allies, but the whole point was Stalin was going to backstab him as
right.
It's
they were going to both backstab each other.
Yeah,
that's
they
the
were
point.
not. Yeah, that's the funny thing is that war was so black on black. It was not even funny. It was just dark on dark. Blood Red Snow, a book about that right there. If you want to go read, it's just tit for tat horror. I mean, it was awful what they did. The Ukrainians, all of those Baltic countries, the Latvians, Estonians, Lithuanians, they had this saying. It was like, "Come, Black Death, save us from the Red Plague," which was the Nazis were the Black Death, and the Red Plague was the Russians, and
they were just the poor people caught in the middle.
They were caught in the middle, yeah, but a lot of them did take up arms against the Soviet Union for the simple reason that the Germans hadn't done anything to them, and the communists had. They had literally created a Holocaust on its own. 3.5 million people were starved to death, which rarely gets talked about, but it did happen. A lot of times the Armenian genocide too. The Turks did.
Nobody talks about that.
Nobody talks about it. You don't hear about it in school. My Armenian friends were always complaining about that. And I'm like, dude, I know it's real. It happened. It really did.
Yeah, they're just like forgotten. There's been a lot of Holocausts besides what happened to the Jewish people throughout history. People have been whole genocides that have happened and are still happening. Look what happens in China. I'm just, evil is evil, and there's powerful people that don't give a crap about anybody.
They
but
don't.
The bottom line they're making. And that's what set up World War II. It was money and power grabs, and that's what set up the Ukraine war right now. Is like all their resources are basically owned by BlackRock.
Yeah, and really, all of these other corporations are subsidiaries of either BlackRock, Blackstone,
or
whatever
Vanguard,
you want to call it, or Vanguard. Yeah, and people don't realize they use that Blackstone. They don't know what that is. What that is there's a black. I'm going to tell you, folks. I'm going to tell you right now on the show. Blackstone is literally at the top of a planet. I'm telling you the truth. If you think I'm lying, I'm dying, Anthony, you can post it on there. The whole religion is based on that, the black cube of Saturn, and the Jewish people wear it on their heads. One of my friends is a rabbi, and I've talked to him about it before, and he has told me in private. I don't think he would ever say this publicly, but he told me, and one of my really good friends that lives up in the mountains of Colorado for fear for his life, has told me multiple times that he was a part of that training when they were young to learn to become rabbinical. He rejected it. He pulled away, and they have nightmares when they wear this thing on their heads, and it makes you cry uncontrollably. It's unbelievable, dude. And people don't realize what that is because it's kind of like the God helmet. The black cube is literally it's Iblis. And if you're a Muslim, that's what that is. They will argue to death that it's a holy thing. Jewish and Muslim will argue to death that is not correct. And I don't care what they say. The black stone is not a good thing. Okay. I know a lot of people who've used it just like they've used the God helmet. I know Christopher Gaetano's been on my show, wore the God helmet. He offered to send it to me and let me wear it. And I said, no, thank you. I love Christopher Gaetano, but I told him, I said, buddy, I'm not going to wear that to bed unless you.
I don't want that going into my brain. You know what I'm saying? It's bad enough with the cell phones and everything else around us.
Having weird dreams.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
You're literally bombarding your brain with a large EMF. We're already doing that bad as it is with everything around us, Wi-Fi constantly, and cell phones and all that, and you're literally putting a microwave on top of your head. Of course, I play VR. I can't talk. I'm doing the worst probably with that.
That's the thing, Gaetano. You need to get him on your show.
Yeah,
you and him would have good conversations. He's smart like you, but yeah, he's trying to get me to get into the VR thing, and I'm thinking about doing some games.
Dude, come on.
Yeah, I just
you let me know,
dude. I'll play
to get Jamie too.
Age of Empires, and I'll get too involved in it, and I'll be like, I got work to do. Well, you just skip work for that. You can't do that because
I get to play little bits of time. You know me, I'm a parent too, so it's like I got to wait till kids are in bed and I get on. And, sometimes I play with my kids on it. That reminds me though, I should talk about that before the end of the night. And I know he's in bed now. He better be. If you're watching the show, Tiger, you better be in bed. You got school tomorrow. But I do want to talk about this because he sent this to me in the middle of the night. I was playing VR. And he sees that I'm on and sends me, he's like, dude, can you talk? We just had this happen. And I'm trying to pull up his description here that he sends me in this message. And I'll tell you when we talk what he said too. I'm just going to call him Tiger. He's a 14-year-old kid. It's happened in Florida. I don't know exactly where because I refuse to let him tell me where he lives because I scold him if he tries to. Because I'm like, you're 14. You shouldn't tell any adult online where you live, what your name is. You should never do that. Right? So, I won't let him tell me where he lives because even if I am very curious about it, I'm going to have to pull up a picture of this. I got to pull up the story. We were talking so much. He goes, this is what he wrote me. Sorry to bother you while you are in a raid because I was playing. But me and my friends experienced something very paranormal and weird. We were walking back to his house at nighttime, and we saw a girl dressed like an Amish lady galloping fast and zip down the street. We were watching her, and she was far from us, and we could still see her, and it looked like she was running in place, looking back at us. We could not tell if she was young or old, and the neighborhood does not contain any Amish people. She went galloping across the street without looking, but we could not tell if it was possibly a spirit or if she was escaping something. It was probably the weirdest thing I've ever experienced, and the whole time she was silent. So I talked to him, and I can hear the other kids are talking with me that are with him that night because it happened at 9:30, and I think he sent me this message at like 1:35 a.m. But they're all. You remember your first paranormal experience when you have friends with you, you guys go to a haunted place or you see something, how excited, you're up to like whenever in the morning. Well, there's these kids. I started sending them pictures. Me and my wife this morning were like, okay, let's think about this. There's no Amish in his area, he says. But the description he's given to me, it doesn't sound Amish. He's telling me he sees like kind of a blue and white outfit. And like there was like some kind of headdress piece on. He's like, I don't know if it was really Amish. That's the closest thing I can think of. So me and my wife start looking up milkmaids, nurses, insane asylum were nurses from that period in the different dress. And I start sending groups of pictures from both those kind of factors. And here, let me see. The one he picked out, he said it looked the closest to it. And he said, that's it. Let me pull up my share screen here and see if I got it in my Dropbox. I think I did. Of what he saw. Oh, dang it. I opened up a separate folder. Nope. Go here. Down. Was the one from, supposedly, and I got to research this. It might not be an insane asylum. It's just Google searching of images, but it came up under what they would wear in insane asylums back in the early 1900s, because there is an insane asylum. I found out after he picked out this picture. He said, yeah, there is an insane asylum, an old one, down the road where she was basically running from. I think he said running from. Where is it? I didn't title it. Oh, there it is. Okay, this is it. So I gave him a lot of different pictures of different outfits. My wife was helping me with this. This is the one he picked out. He said, that looks just like what she was wearing. That's what he said. And I got to figure out with this. Do you recognize this kind of outfit, Josh? You're a good history person.
Yeah, and that would be something one of the workers would wear. We had one in my hometown, and it's been torn down. It was notorious.
Insane asylum
spot. People kept trying to break into it, so they tore it down. In fact, a couple of my friends looked in there, and wanted me to look in there. I peeked in, and I thought I saw a shadow, and I didn't want to go in. And my friends were like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure. I don't want to go in there."
Like, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't know. It could have been anything what I saw. I thought I saw something move though, and I was like, "No, I'm good."
The more scary thing I would think of in that instance is like it's a homeless person, and I don't want to run into them. I'd rather run into a ghost. But so what I found odd about it, what we ended up messaging after he said this, he goes, I really do think I saw a ghost. I go, I think you did, and I really do, because hearing him and the other two kids that were with him last night talking about this, the movement was really odd that they saw, like the skipping across, and then that she turns and looks at them, and is just like running in place, like she's running but she can't move.
Wow.
All the paranormal stories you heard, that's why I wanted to talk to you, since I knew you were coming on tonight. I wanted to make sure I got to this. And Tiger, you better be asleep. I'll give him the link to the show and tell him where to watch this part. But what are your thoughts on that kind of movement they were talking about?
Well, I mean, that could speak to a residual haunting, as you guys know. I mean,
yeah.
But also, it depends on the person, like what they're, my beliefs, if you were to mingle them with like traditional, I would say you could get stuck in a state of purgatory, because I do believe that purgatory is a state. and I have been visited by just about everybody I've ever been close to in life, like really close to, and then some people who I kind of just knew, and I was shocked to see them, but I've seen them in dreams.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know, man, and so right here, somebody just said something. Stratagem.
She was on her way. The way he typed it, she says she was on her. The way she went was to an asylum, so it was heading towards where that asylum is.
Mm.
And it was built in the 1890s, is all he's been told by his parents. I said, well, try to find out more. I was like, find out the name, and you can do the research, kiddo. Like, don't tell me where you live, because I'm really, like, don't want to know. You know, like, I do want to know. I admitted to him, I would love to know the place and, like, research it myself. But I'm like, don't tell people where you live, kid. Oh. And so we'll see what he finds out.
So, a couple things here in the chat, too. We're kind of jumping around, but this is fun. I like this. Mystical Wonderland, one of our listeners too, says there's a couple things he or she said here. Says, what did Putin say about vampires? I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't just the West was controlled by Satan. That was a different speech that he gave, where he talks about that we're all run by the West is
That's
run
a different one. That's a couple years old.
Yeah, this one he said that their bellies are fat with human flesh. And he's like, and he says a couple other things in Russian, and I had my friends look at it, and it was him. It's speaking Russian.
Oh yeah, he is.
And he said, but the vampire ball is coming to an end, because he knows that the West, and they've been lining up against him for a long time through the guise of NATO. I had a remote viewer friend, and I need to get him on the show. He remote viewed the house that's now torn down. He had no way to know, and this was the house next to the house I ran to. After I saw the Dogman or werewolf. Now I'm starting to think it was a werewolf or whatever. But he had the house was yellow with brown trim. I was shocked that he got the colors right. He had the fence, everything. This guy I talked to had never done it. He remote viewed it accurately. He remote viewed the color of the shirt that my friend wore, and I had never told that color of that shirt to anybody. And so when there were a few details that I had never told, even some of the interviews I'd done on radio or with the British magazine I was on, there been a lot of newspapers and magazines that interviewed me. I never revealed that right there. So that was interesting that he was able to remote view those things. I never talked about the color of my shoes. He got it right. I was like, whoa, what kind they were. He saw it. He saw what it was, and he even was the first person to say he's a remote viewer. Now, here's what he had to say about this. He said that he saw, and it could be what sometimes remote viewers do, and you got to forgive this. This is nothing. They're not just lying. This really is a thing. We are living with alternate timelines. So it's an easy thing to say, well, it's a Mandela effect. Anthony and my other nephew, Zane, used to always mess with me. Oh, it's a Mandela effect, huh? Because something didn't work out the way I wanted it to.
It's a joke in our household between me and my sons and wife.
We do it too, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you were supposed to win that game. That's why I'm supposed to have that money. It's a Mandela effect. No, but they've had their own Mandela effects that they're just like, what? You know, and one of them was a song from Boardwalk Empire that Anthony, he gets really aggravated with that. I can't remember the guy's name, Eddie something. What's the guy's name, Anthony? You could post it on there. He hates that because that song was so annoying, but the guy sings it differently now. So that was one of the first ones he noticed. But this could be an alternate reality, whatever, but he saw Putin in the United States and some Eddie Cantor song. There it is. So they went to war with the United States, but part of the United States was happy about it because it was a liberation. Because after the current administration, we start going back to the same bullshit with what was going on before. And they keep with the war with Putin, right? They keep pushing it. So eventually he becomes like a liberator. And so that was one of the things that he saw in a future that could go either way, you know.
He's not the only one. There's some others have said that about Russia being the liberator. And that go back to even the John Teeter stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of hints to that. Here it is. Here's what he said. This is a translation here. I'm going to play it.
Russian president to Western elites. The era of Western elites being able to exploit other nations and other peoples across the world is coming to an end, Russian President Vladimir Putin said in an interview published by Rossiya 1 and RIA Novosti. The president stated that over the past few centuries, the so-called golden billion has grown accustomed to being able to fill their bellies with human flesh and their pockets with money, as they have been parasitizing other peoples in Africa, Asia, and Latin America.
I mean, you could look at that him being metaphoric, because we have acted like the big banks that work with the U.S. government and NATO and all that as vampires. I mean, that's basically what they're doing to Ukraine right now. They put them in such bankruptcy. Besides the million people dead, they put them in such bankruptcy for all those weapons we make and sell them, right? I mean, Mitch McConnell said the quiet part out loud, so did Nancy Pelosi, Democrat and Republican. Said, oh, it's not a big deal. Those are all American-made weapons. Those are jobs and money for Americans, right? And we sell it over there with their tax money. It's all a money laundering scheme for the banks and military-industrial complex. And part of it is they bankrupt that country, and there's so many resources in Ukraine. Like you said, it's the breadbasket when it comes to food, but it also mineral rights, all these things. That's what it, and we want to put NATO on the doorstep of Russia, which we promised many years ago we would never do, but we just keep getting closer, and this is the final straw.
Yeah. Taking in Finland, I mean, that's that was a big one because, I mean, Finland and Russia fought a war too. Prior to World War II and then during World War II. And Finland lost territory to Russia that they feel like they never should have lost. I'm going to say this. There's a lot of things that shouldn't be happening. There are countries that have a lot of power that shouldn't have power, and there's no reason for them to have power. And I've said this before, like Saudi Arabia. Like, why did they have so much power? Well, it's because of Israel. That's just a point-blank, simple answer. They're protected. And who protects Israel? Us. So Saudi Arabia is able to charge the living shit out of everybody, control OPEC, and make everyone fall in line. And they are
one of the war in Yemen paid for by us.
Absolutely. And then they are one of the most oppressive regimes on the planet of women. And
women and people and homosexuals.
Yeah, just anybody who's not a Saudi Arabian
Islamic
male.
faith. Yeah,
yeah. I watched a video of a Pakistani guy who was there to work in a shop. He went there to work, and the owner of the shop was stabbing him to death in the street. And people watched it happen. Nothing happened to this guy. There's another guy who's descended from a sheik. I heard this on another podcast. This may or may not be true. Something between 11 and possibly as many as 14 wives, and he has beheaded them all. And kept them as trophies.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No. Oh yeah. You get into the Saudi royalty and the stuff that they've done, and the crown prince himself has murdered a journalist. Yeah. Pretty much openly admitted.
Yeah. They do what they want when they want, and no one can touch them. And so I had this guy, and he was arguing with me. And of course, we were on Facebook, and that's where you go for all the smart stuff.
You can thank Nixon for that one if you want to get into Nixon too.
Well, and then the China thing too. We could go all the way down the rabbit hole. But so what ends up happening? You have a country that's out of control. So this guy was going, well, if you were in charge, what would you do? I started naming different places that would no longer exist. I said, well, Saudi Arabia, which really isn't a country. Anyway, they just made demarcation lines everywhere. I said, look. They would cease to be. There wouldn't be a country there. It would just be over. And I just named off different places. And I said North Korea would no longer exist. That wouldn't be a problem anymore. And he's like, well, why don't we do this? I was like, there's a lot of reasons, but the main reason is just money.
Always money.
And he's like, we can't just go and knock off a sovereign nation. I said, we do it all the damn time. What do you think Grenada was? Huh?
Oh, God. I mean, we could have a laundry list of things
you
our
could go
CIA
all the
has
way
done
down
coup-wise.
Dude, Iraq, we armed Iraq to defeat Iran. Then we went in and told them, well, do what you want. That's what Bush daddy said. And then they said, and Saddam is like, really? Okay, well, I go kill Kuwait and take the oil. And they're like, okay, yeah. And as soon as he did, we went over there and
it's a trap!
Yeah. It's a trap. Completely destroyed them.
Crippling. We needed an excuse.
Keep rivals for the next 20 years.
Bush, you can find where Bush on a press conference. What is he says something that's like basically he's saying we have no interest in what Iraq does in Kuwait. Like basically, you go ahead you know, and then later, Desert Storm, we're going in.
Yeah,
America.
exactly. Yeah, America, F yeah. You know, this is what they do, and so.
But I'm worried. I tell you what. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I want to
go
bring
ahead.
up something. I said what I worry about now is we're on that tipping point. We just need all they need is one stupid false flag, and I will say false flag event, because they manufacture these things to put us right back in that stupid mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, and 9/11 put everybody.
That's what I'm talking about.
I couldn't tell anybody what I was thinking at the time. I was just like,
I did.
This is a horrible, horrible idea. You know,
I did. I lost friends, and I had people I freaked out because I was calling it before it happened. I said, there's going to be a terrorist attack on this country because we are going into the Middle East. And the only way that's going to happen is to get the American people behind it is a terrorist attack. All the signals were there. I mean, Alex Jones, as much as I dislike a lot the way he presents things or does things, and I don't like him really, I will give him credit for saying the same stuff I found out around the same time period because he was probably seeing a lot of the same things I was. He had a lot more inside knowledge, I'm sure, too. But I'm not a huge fan, but I will give him credit always because he did call out a lot of the same stuff I was telling people. I didn't even know about Alex Jones back then. And I was telling a lot of people about why we're going to end up in a war in the Middle East and that there's going to be a terrorist attack months before. You can ask my wife, you can ask my cousin, you can ask my parents. I was telling people this stuff, and then we had it happen.
Wow.
Because you want to get in the Middle East, you have to have a false flag event. I'd already learned about things like Project Northwood, like, you know, with Kennedy. Go look at that up. You know, we have no problem killing American civilians, and you can find that. I have history to back me up on this to get us into whatever war we want. There's plenty of history to back me up. Plenty of Freedom of Information Acts that can prove my point. Go look at Project Northwood. And that's what I'm saying. I feel we're on that verge now. Where they're just, it just feels like it again, where we're being amped up and ready for something, and I just don't want to see people fall for it.
Yeah,
that's what my biggest concern is. I'll never forget. I was working, I work retail, and I had a lady. It was a couple days after 9/11, and I'll remember the day of it. I had to go to work before they closed the store down because everything was going crazy. My cousin called me and he's like, "Oh my God," because we had a long night where I talked about all this stuff before it happened. I even said they could use planes as bombs and attack the World Trade Center. I was just shitballing. We're gonna use the word shit tonight. It's fine. Well, I was just shitballing about everything I was seeing, you know, and it freaked him out big time because he's like, "Dude, what's gonna happen next?" I'm like, "I don't know, except that we're going to war, and I guarantee it's Iraq." You know,
well, and the Saudis having done it, everybody was like, why would they have done that? Well, the people that did it, they were doing it so their families would be taken care of perpetually, forever.
Yep.
That was it. If you were a poor, starving person and they came to you and said, you're going to stay living in squalor, or we're probably going to kill you and your family, or you can go and do these things. I'm not saying this is what happened, but I'm saying this is how they can get you to do things. Go do this and that, and we'll pay you. And I mean, yeah, you're going to pass away either way. We got you. You're going to do it. If you don't do it, we got you. If you do it, though, your family will become rich and taken care of.
And it doesn't matter who's in office. It doesn't matter who's in office.
None of that matters.
None of that matters.
So that's how they got them, and then they went and did what they did. And I don't necessarily think it was the United States. They might have been involved, but it wasn't just them. There was other players.
Well,
you know,
when I'd get in arguments with people when I'd be saying this, like, people in our government, they wouldn't do this. I'm like, you don't understand. It's not our government. Our government's owned and co-opted a long time ago. Yeah. This is major corporations, military-industrial complex, corporations, corporatocracy that are maneuvering these things. The CIA is nothing but a front for the military-industrial complex. It's a revolving door for all these people, and they do not care about killing innocent civilians, American or otherwise, to get what they want, because it's a lot of money on the line. A lot of money on the line. And that's what it's always about, the money. Jim Marrs, Rule by Secrecy, one of my favorite all-time books. What does he tell you? Follow the money. And I was just telling this to my wife, you know, with what's going on now. We have the whole thing like Al Qaeda. Like, we're supposed to get rid of Al Qaeda. Well, guess what? Just a few years ago in Syria, we were literally getting Trump to trying to get him to drone bomb Russian forces working in Syria, which could cause war, to protect Al Qaeda. And we're warning them not to do anything, because you don't dare attack Al Qaeda, because why? They're ours.
Yeah, ISIS.
Just like ISIS is.
Mm-hmm.
They're all CIA operatives. Obama or Osama bin Laden. So, wow,
the first Islamic terrorist to never attack Israel or even try to.
Right.
It was
right.
ISIS.
These are
and then
all
some of them
CIA
were zoomed in
operations.
and they were wearing little Star of Davids. And I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
They're wearing the Star of Remphan. Well, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, there's so much history to back us up on this, and it's verifiable history for people. It's what's so frustrating about this topic is like I'm not talking conspiracy theory. I can actually show you Freedom of Information Acts that prove these things exist, like Project Northwood, that our government has no problem killing innocent civilians to get their war. That the people we're talking about are psychopaths that are in control. They are Patrick Bateman's American Psycho. Like they could be serial killers if they weren't in government high positions. They don't care about human life. They're psychopaths.
And look at the
all
people
about
who
the money.
run these different, like the Krupp family is one of the largest arms dealers on earth and has been for years. I read a humongous book. It was like this thick. It was about the Krupps. I could barely get through it. But it was like you look at the Krupps as one of the 6 main families that come from the Germanic boyars, but they're actually Jewish German, which is weird because that family also spawned Hitler. I saw somebody say we created Hitler. No, we did not.
No.
They actually he was created by the Weimar Republic, but he was also Jewish himself.
His mother was a maid
Mm-hmm.
who worked for what's his name? What's the name of Adolf Hitler's most likely possible father?
There was a doctor that she worked for.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
he's
it
a
was German
doctor, but he's
yeah.
part of this family. This is where his
Yeah.
bloodline comes
Mhm.
in, and he knew it too.
The Rothschild family.
Yeah,
This
this is connection to them.
Yeah, but the Krupps are cousins of the Rothschilds, because so is Oppenheimer's.
They're all offshoots. Rockefellers are.
Rockefeller and Redstone. Redstone is actually an offshoot of, get this, Blackstone, because there was a guy who was a baron and he was known as something. I can't remember his first name or his last name. It was something. He had a funky something, Clausewitz something, but his direct descendant was Clausewitz, the German military tactician who fought against Napoleon. He was a Prussian, but it was von Clausewitz. I can't remember his first name. He's a
Sounds
weird
familiar. I'm
man.
trying to think
Yeah,
what you're talking
like
about.
Herbert von Clausewitz, whatever. But
Yeah.
he was one. He was a Redstone. The Redstone, but he was they were the product of the Blackstone and the Red Shield, which is Rothschild. Rothschild is Red Shield. And so the Rothschilds, and I believe it was Eli. No, it wasn't Eli. It was whatever the old man's name was when he died. He owned 51% of the world's wealth. Like, he had control of it. People were saying something. I'm big into the economy, and they were talking about this online earlier, and they were like, holy shit, look what happened with NVIDIA. And I just dumped half of it because I'm hedging my bets.
Because
and
of deep
the
sea.
Chinese company that was going to do something, and then Trump
DeepSeek.
made the deal. Yeah. And then Trump made the deal, and I read it, and I said, well, let's sell part of it, whatever. So I do a lot of investing, and that is smart, and where I buy a lot of gold, as obviously, and I make some of it.
You need to tell me who you do
that.
that. You need to tell me how you do that with the gold, because I need to do that.
I can teach you. I can show you how to invest too.
Please.
I told you, man, Texas is the place to be too. If you want.
Oh, my
more
wife and
freedom.
me were talking about this earlier about you trying to get me to move down to Texas.
You should come to Texas, brother. Come to Texas if you want
if
some
I didn't
freedom,
have
man.
parents here and
Yeah.
family and support system that we have, we would.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have a huge support system down here. So I'm telling you what it is. I tell everybody this. They said, well, what do we do now? When they panicked earlier, I said, what you do now is when NVIDIA drops, buy the shit out of it. That's what you do. XRP
Right.
is about
You're
to
right on
be-
this.
Yes, and so that's what I did. I said, don't panic, buy more. When XRP was
Buy
going
cheaper.
up, I bought XRP, and I said, set on it, and then buy some more. And before it doubles, go buy some more. And so before everything split, we bought a shit ton of NVIDIA. This isn't a bragging thing. I'm teaching people how to do this. I'm telling people give you the information for free. There's no reason to hide knowledge. I try to tell people. Jesus says, my people suffer and die from lack of knowledge. We don't want you to die. Here's the thing. There's certain things you got to invest in at certain times. I tell everybody this. When everybody says, oh, there's always somebody bigger and better that can kick your ass. No, there's not. There's no man that can whip your ass. There's a time. It's a time. The Japanese know it. It's Satori. Everything slows down. There's a time when you will lose to a Girl Scout. You just ate a big meal. You're tired. You get off the couch. You're like, who's knocking on my door? This kid kicks you in the balls, and you're on your ground going, what in the hell? You couldn't even beat up a kid. Okay. Then there's a time when you go into battle and your sword is sharp and you can wipe out 100 ninjas because you're that guy. You're that samurai. That's just how it goes. I've gone into ball games and boxing matches like that, like knowing I'm going to beat the world right now. I would beat his ass and his whole lineage's ass all the way back to the cave days, because that's how I feel today. I'm unstoppable. I'm going to destroy you. I might let you keep your soul. I don't know. But then there's other days you wake up and you're like, I don't want to go out into the world. If somebody pokes me, I'm going to implode. That is called time. A time can destroy a man, no matter how badass you are. You need to learn, because there's people that came before us that always knew to pick the time when to fight. I believe that's what made Miyamoto Musashi. That guy was unstoppable because he knew when to fight. You know, he would be like, "No, I'm not coming Wednesday. I'm going to come Tuesday. Tuesday's a better day for me." You know, it's just he knew the time. This guy was a master of time. The Mayans were obsessed with time. Time is everything, because that is a man-made thing. Maybe, maybe not, but we're living in a man-made world. And I'm going to tell you something. If you don't know the time, you won't know the limits. And the limits it's everything. It's numbers. Everything is numbers. And so you run the numbers, I'm a fast moving number guy. And what I always do is I look at the numbers. Okay. We were earlier today. Anthony's not in here with me, but he could attest to this. We were talking about, we had a coupon thing we had to use at Home Depot was expiring today. So it was like 15% off, and we need a couple different appliances, right? And I said, okay, so that's roughly $1,300, because it goes up to $200. So I did the math in my head very quickly. That's $1,300. Comes out to $195. You'll get $190 if you spend $1,300. So we up to $1,300, you will get the $200 back, right? And so most people, their brains don't work that fast. I tell people, look, what you got to do, it's nothing. You just got to train yourself. The memorization, numbers, flipping the numbers is very, very important. That is very important to know what your life path is too. Mine's a 7. 7s are they're spiritual. A lot of people say you don't come from this planet. That's what Glennis McCants would say on Art Bell's show, right? Or George Norrie. You know, they'll say, well, you're not from here. Maybe we're not. Maybe that's why we know a little more. Maybe, I don't know. But there are people who are overthinkers, people who underachieve. You know, there's overachievers. There's all these different types of people. But what really matters is where your place is in the world and in the cosmos. And I can tell you this. There are places that you will go. You are here tonight, right now. There's 150 people listening right now. You're here because you want to learn something. You want to hear something that you don't know. Because if you already knew all of this, it would be review for you. You want to hear this. You want to hear. That's why you're here. It's fate, right? That brings you here. Fate. And so what I tell people all the time, when it comes to money and making money and investing and doing all these things, you got to pay attention. When he was having the debate with Kamala, they were talking about a company, TCMS. It's a Taiwanese company. And she said, yeah, and they did this and they did that. And I knew exactly what they were talking about. He didn't sell that information to China. No, that was sold by Zelensky through Ukraine.
Yep.
And he bought the information from Taiwan. Taiwan did not know that he was going to turn around and give it to China, because China was still backdooring Russia, because they're not friends. They can pretend, but China is very pissed off right now because Korea, their competitors, North Korea has helped Russia.
Oh, it's a horrible thing going on right there. Yeah. I mean, like literally sending these poor guys out there that have been brainwashed under the North Korean government to go out there, and Putin's just using them. Just like
cannon fodder.
Lambs of the slaughter, cannon fodder. It's horrible. I don't see the drone footage. I want to read this from Patreon. If you're a Patreon member, you can find the link in our thing. You can always get me messages. Adrian here put, most nefarious happenings on Earth are derived from abusive ruling classes and very possibly before humankind was as we know it. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts on the possibility of the government or forefathers set in place. The Great American Experiment was actually an alien-prompted experiment by positive off-worlders to try and set a plan in motion to change the world. You know, that's been alluded to in the folklore of like George Washington being showed this kind of mysterious map of what the U.S. would be. There's this urban legend of that. There's a number of things that point to maybe. Definitely the founding fathers. A lot of them were cosmologists. That they believed in other worlds and a life on other worlds. So maybe. I definitely, and you get into the whole Freemason. That's a whole other show night, man. I'll tell you that.
We could go, Jason. I could come back next Sunday and we could do this more and more and more. I mean, we could go down that rabbit
You're welcome
hole.
to. It's probably going to be open lines again because I don't have a guest for next
I
Sunday.
have no problem coming and talking and helping you guys out. I love you. I love Jamie. Y'all are great people, and I always have a good time here. And my listeners show up, and they came out and they donated money. That's good. You got more donations than I did tonight.
No way.
Yeah,
really?
I didn't get but like $50-$60. Most of my big donation people are gone now. I had some stuff, and they went to another podcast, but I still get the numbers because of the AdSense. We still make money. They think, oh yeah, we took their donations. That's the suckers do. YouTube takes 30% of that. And so I tell my people, you want to donate it, go straight to PayPal or join the Patreon. That's the best way. Or become a member, if enough people become members, and then
I haven't set up the YouTube. Do you do the YouTube membership?
Yeah. It was there.
I've been thinking about setting that up.
I would,
thinking about setting it up.
Do a little
You have
giveaway
a great
for them.
people, by the way. Awesome people. Never have had one problem with anybody.
Yeah, our people are real smart, real good people.
Very smart. Love the way they think.
Yeah. Yeah, I love my patrons. I got 13 of them, and I thank all of them because it does help pay the bills. It does help pay the bills, man. And they're going up. I told you about the StreamYard thing. Jamie sent me that. She's like, are you going to get switched to a new service? When I came out, I'm like, you doubled the bill for this.
I know what we're going to do. We got so many, and the insurance is killing us financially. It's hurting us in our business too. It's tripled in 4 years. And then you're like, what are you doing? Like, how are we supposed to keep operating?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I don't do the public.
They argue and don't want to pay.
That's why I don't do the public. One of the reasons we don't do the public ghost hunting group anymore, and we went privates because you have to have an insurance policy, $1 million insurance policy. It was just too much money to have a public whole ghost hunting group with that pay for that insurance policy. We didn't have enough people or big enough members to keep donating to pay for it. So all this stuff's going up. My website cost, all that stuff. So it's greatly appreciated. All the donations tonight. Thank you so much, guys. It helps out so much. You don't know how much that words. I make no money doing this show. I don't make money doing this show. Like, I just did my taxes and I have to do a 1099 or whatever it is for this show. And I'm like, I made this much money on YouTube, but I'm claiming zero money made because that didn't cover the cost. The taxes. I make no money, government. Don't come after me for anything. I know you want to come after everybody for every little dollar they make, but I made no money.
Yeah, and if Trump does what he says he's going to do, which we hope he does, kills the tax on these poor people, they have to pay the tax on
tax on tips. He's talking about income tax. So we got this whole tariff war going on now.
Dude. I mean,
the last 48 hours.
Oh yeah.
I mean, do you think tariffs are going to pay the bills?
China. I could tell you this: not Russia, but China, Mexico, Canada. Tariffs will pay some of the bills. Now there will be casualties. Do you remember a place called Anthony used to shop there all the time? Type it on the bottom there. He used to love to go there. And then when Trump came in, it just all their products were gone overnight. And then it got to where they had nothing in the store. There was nothing. You go in there, you walk around, there's nothing in there. And then eventually it just fell over and died. It was a big box store. I can't remember the name of it. But everybody used to like to go there. And then everybody was like, damn, Trump, well, all of that just shows you that 90% of the stuff they had in there was Chinese crap. I can't remember the name of it. It was kind of like a Best Buy. You could go in there and get all the different computer parts, and you could build your own computer.
Yeah, like Fry's or
Fry's. There you go. It's gone.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, Fry's down here.
Yeah, we have Fry's here.
Is it still there?
I think we might have one left. I'm not sure.
Because they were limping along, man. But you know what happened? If you look at what happened, when Trump was in office, he made a deal with Amador. I know that Feinbaum is a different animal. She will never work with Trump. Never.
Yeah.
She's going to do everything she can to fight him. She's real like, I'm the boss bitch. So there's nothing that she's
we'll see what happens with that. We'll see.
Yeah. She's going to try. So Amador made a deal with Trump. That's why Trump bragged so heavily about they're going to build a wall and they're going to like it and they're going to want to do it. Well, yeah, Amador wanted to do it because he gave him 2,500 maquiladores. Maquiladores in Spanish, that's plants. Those are factories. And he helped pay through our tax dollars for their wages. And they were making $15, $16 an hour. You know how much that is for a third world person?
Right.
That is a healthy living. And they were employing like 250,000 people in these plants. And we started seeing products coming over Heco in Mexico. Okay, that means made in Mexico. And I was going like, see? And you saw a mass migration, at least here in Texas, a lot of workers, because I had 7 construction sites. They didn't have enough people to work. These people, the work slowed down because of all these Mexicans were going back to Mexico to work, and the maquiladores, because their families were making money down there. They didn't have to be up here working out in the heat. They were working in these air-conditioned factories. And so they made it comfortable for them to live and to have a livable wage. Trump did that. And he did it by taking everything away from China and giving it to Mexico. It was brilliant, him and Amador. So think about it. When Biden got in office, everybody was shocked, right? CNN was like, the fact that white-haired guy, that's one of the Vanderbilts, he's a little sicko, the white-haired guy. He's been in all kinds of BDSM, whatever. He was on, I forgot his name. Not Tucker. He's got white hair, and he's a gross.
Cooper Anderson.
Cooper Anderson. He's his family's gross.
Well, look at his family. I mean, that's a whole other.
Yeah, you can do a show about the Addams family.
Oh my God. My God. I mean, CIA, everything. You're going down the rabbit hole.
He's got some weird people in there too, and they all have.
He's former CIA.
Yeah, they're horrible.
Or still is.
Well, yeah, of course. So he's on there. He's just like, I don't understand why Amador is the last leader on the earth, on the planet, to congratulate Biden. You know why? Because Amador was hoping that the election would be overturned. Because Trump and him were like this. You know why they were like this? Because of the deal that he made with them. And he knew that overnight, when Biden got in there, if he still had 2 brain cells left to rub together, he was going to, he was just an idiot. They just set him up there. And
he just was there to sign. Yeah. He's like the grandfather from Chainsaw Man.
I was about to say that. Yeah. I was going to say
they're going to hold up the bodies and like,
let him hit it. It's horrible.
Just remember, people, I'm not a fan of any of these people. Just so you know.
It's dude, it doesn't matter who's in office.
Like, I got a big problem with the Trump administration right now talking about, hey, I want RFK Jr. to be Health and Human Secretary. I do not want Bill O'Neill to be the Deputy of Health and Human Secretary. Go look him up and look what he did with anthrax in 2000 and all the stuff he set up for this MNRA stuff. Sorry, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, and every administration, Obama's administration, he gave the head of Monsanto, like, oh, you know what?
They contributed so much to his campaign. They got a free ticket the moment he got in.
It was crazy. He became,
and then they bankrupt themselves from so much poison.
Yeah,
you're
just going like
so many lawsuits, including RFK Jr.'s biggest lawsuit.
It was unbelievable. And then RFK gets in there, and then you have this other idiot. Then you're going like tit for tat. JD Vance, you got Trump. JD Vance, you got Bill O'Neill, but you got RFK, but then there's this guy. It's like.
But there's all the people around him. It's like, is he going to actually do anything?
Yeah,
I will say that. Can he? Because they're putting people under him. Okay, they're under him. So sure. But Bill O'Neill, that's a huge red flag. That's a huge red flag. And then you got Larry Ellison going on talking about this whole facility in Texas. That him, Peter Thiel, go look these guys up. They are big transhumanists. Bill Gates is a big, 3-hour, they have this right before the inauguration, just like in 2016, a 3-hour dinner, and as soon as he did that, the 2 people that RFK had picked out for his deputy, those people were kicked to the side, so I have serious doubts. I'm sorry. The people you're involving, you can put RFK up all you want up there, but the people you're putting in are all these people that have set up a lot of the things that are very suspect with COVID, with MNRA, the DOD basically research into basically biological weapons they did under an NIH. All these people are involved in this. They're all involved in this. Our military was proven to have sent those envelopes in 2001 with the anthrax. It's been proven to go back to Fort Detrick. They are totally involved. They did this to scam the government into the whole Patriot Act and everything we did with Anthony Fauci, the MNRA, all that is set up back. Bill O'Neill, when I saw that name on there. Preemptive pardons. Yeah, that's right.
Ridiculous.
I
So
know.
you got, we know that you're going to get busted for being a war criminal, but you're pardoned by Grandpa Chainsaw Massacre guy. So that was just, I mean, as soon as he got in there, 47 executive orders in 48 hours. I don't know how this guy could have been awake for those. I mean, it was pretty ridiculous, but he wasn't. But anyway, his clone,
they gave him a pen. Get Grandma up here.
Well, he didn't even have to do it. There's a guy that was wearing a mask. You could always see the wrinkle on his neck.
You think, that you wonder. There's some weird things like that don't seem right. Like, remember people were saying Jim Carrey was doing.
I remember them
this
saying
got crazy.
Jim Carrey. There was a lot of different speculation on who was.
I don't know. I think they just fed him up with a lot of drugs and threw him out on stage after.
That's what they did. He tried to walk off the stage the wrong way a couple times. You're like, oh no, go that way.
They're all puppets, though. They don't have to be dementia to be puppets.
No.
He was an easy puppet. He's just dementia. Doesn't know what half the hell he's doing. But all these guys are puppets. All these guys are, it's money talks, man. Money is what makes the world move. And I trust no one. I trust no one. You know what? I even campaigned for RFK Jr. and I don't trust him. I don't trust anyone.
You can't, if you're sitting there and you're going like, okay, I'm going to champion in this person. You can't even do that. The only reason I say this is because Trump is the lesser of the evil for sure, because economically we have less of a stranglehold.
Right. There's policy things that he's going to put in place. I strongly agree with. I won't deny that. I won't deny that. There's things that I want to see done.
The others were such straight Marxist, idealisms and socialists.
But what if that is the whole? What if that is the whole way to get you to follow somebody else? Is just go so far to the one way that it makes one other way seem like sense. I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just saying that's what right, exactly. I'm like, say, just don't trust anyone. Don't believe anybody can be your savior in this. Just question everything you're about to see happen in the next several years, 4 years.
And holding off.
Yeah, it's just staving off. Yeah, because if you look at what happened in Germany after World War I, that's why one of your listeners here astutely said, I don't really think I've seen this guy before. Not Brian Pugh. I know him. His name is Craig Wood. He says something.
Oh, Craig.
Craig is a listener of yours, I guess. He says, he said something about Hitler. We didn't create Hitler. He said,
trying to find more of his.
He said World War I did. Okay, yeah, but Hitler was always an agent. Hitler was actually, we know this to be 100% true. This isn't a conspiracy theorist. He was sent in to, infiltrate the Nazi party. He took it over. He co-opted it from Otto and Gregor Strasser, who he had killed, and they were killed in Canada. They fled after that, and they didn't come up with the swastika. They didn't come up with any of that. Or he didn't. They did. So he came in and he infiltrated it for the Weimar Republic because they were trying to find a connection, because there were several socialist parties and some of them were being funded by the Soviet Union by way of Trotsky and a few others like Joseph Engels and Ida Rosenberg. They were all in on it together. And so what you ended up having was this infiltrator, and he said, you know what, this party is weak, but they're growing, and they have weak leadership, but they have a lot of strong men. One in particular being Ernst Rohn and the Brown Shirts. Yes. And so he was able to take over through the use of the Brown Shirts, and then of course he got rid of Rohn. There was
very similar to Antifa.
Yeah, Antifa. They are. And then he used the black shirts, but Antifa is far left. These guys are far right. But if you know anything at all, it's a circle, not a straight line. So if you're this far on the left and you go like this and you go far enough, you end up on the other side.
Right.
It's all part of the left-right paradigm, and why you don't want to get sucked into that spiral.
Right.
There is no left or right. There really is no middle. There just is right, which is good, and then what is wrong. That's it. And so there are certain things that I do like about centrist, and there's a few things on the left I like. I don't like the fact that we have to pay for doctors and medicine and having surgeries. I don't like these little ER.
Do you believe in free healthcare? Do you believe in everybody who's for human rights? Sorry. Go Bernie.
Dude, when you pull into one of these little ERs, like I had to pull my wife into one time, and they told me, "Oh, she don't have the right insurance," and they would just sit there and let her die. And they said, "You need to get her out of here before something happens to her." Like, told me that, man. I cussed this person out. Their soul came out of their body. I said, let's do that. And they're like, we're gonna call the police. I said, I don't give a shit. Call the freaking Gestapo or the NKVD or the KGB. I don't give a shit who you call. I was like, but you're gonna all be upset if my wife dies here. But I'm gonna leave. So I did, and I was very, very upset with these people. And I said, these places shouldn't exist. This shouldn't exist. But you have places like Canada where they're like, we're going to take 90% of your money. We're not going to fix shit or do shit. But
make you wait in line.
We'll make you wait in line over there until you die in it. Because Cuba, why not? Yeah, Cuba did it. That's why they're all over here, right? This is why they're here, because of that bullshit. Okay, but I don't want to live in a banana republic either, where you have a little.
Well, we kind of helped create it as a banana republic.
We create everything as a banana republic.
Yeah, we made sure they became a banana republic. You know, Castro had his own ideas, and then Nixon's like, he's a communist.
Yeah,
and then we made sure to destroy him, and that's a whole history to itself.
Well, that was the whole thing too, is because he wanted our help and to work with us, and because
before he went to Gorbachev.
Yeah, the Soviets.
Not Gorbachev, sorry, not...
the Soviets, what's his name? Khrushchev.
Khrushchev,
yeah. So he went to Khrushchev because he was like, look, I can't get the help over here. And the Khrushchev was like, oh, sure, we help you.
Yeah, we bring missiles.
Yeah, we will see what Kennedy doing. Kennedy was like, you better get him out of here before I shove him up your ass. And then Khrushchev was like, we will crush. Maybe not. Okay, maybe we go back to Russia.
I think,
And then that all happened, and then the Bay of Pigs, and then everything else that's happened since then, and whatever else kind of wacky doodle scheme that to pretend there was play pretend with Kissinger. Everything that guy did was to support Israel. Do not think he did anything for
Kissinger?
us.
Oh God, yeah.
Kissinger was 100% just behind Israel. Everything he did was to maneuver himself, money in his pockets, and he was. People don't believe this. He was paying Arafat. Yeah. To run around in circles and not do nothing and just run around
to be the bad guy. I mean, they created they created Hamas.
They did.
They created Hamas.
Did. They created every single one of these damn problems, and then they're like, "There's a problem here." But guess what? Our cousins, the Rothschilds, the Krupps, all these other, the Sassoons, and all these other big players, they'll make a ton of money off of all of this bullshit. Pfizer, all these different, deaths, the Rockefellers, the Redstones, they all will benefit from this nonsense game that we're playing. And so all they're going to do is run around and wear that badge that says, I'm a Bilderberger, we're all together, blah, blah, blah. And that's what they do. And then they make bazillions of dollars in money off of everybody. And everybody says you're a crackpot if you don't pout you're not spouting off what CNN and Fox is saying. Well, those are bought and paid for companies.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think Rupert Murdoch, who do you think he's related to?
Mm-hmm. The same people, the same stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get to that position.
He's part Rockefeller. I'm telling you.
You don't get to that. They're all related.
All related.
They're all related.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. Like I'm a big George Carlin fan. I just love it. It's a big club, and you ain't in it because that is the truth of it.
About the go woke, go broke, and all that, because either side of the fence, that they're gambling on, they're still getting money. They don't care.
Yeah, they bet. Look at all the tech entrepreneurs that showed up at the inauguration.
Yeah.
That were, totally like Jeff Bezos is there. And he had the Washington Post going nuts during Trump's first 4 years.
Zuckerberg's like, oh, is this what we're doing now?
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
Whatever. I mean,
I'm sorry about censoring you. I'm so sorry. They made me do it. They made me. I'm a good guy.
He's still censoring us.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's unbelievable, dude.
If
you go back and what's up, Jamie?
But just like you said, he wouldn't interfere with the election or have anything to do with the election this year. 2 days later, register to vote through Facebook.
I mean, that's what he did in 2016, 2020. He does that
every time.
Please don't come after me. I believe he's right. I do believe he's right when he says they came after him with everything. He's not lying. He just crumbled like a pussy.
Yeah, he was.
And didn't find it. Yeah.
Yeah, he goes back on everything he says.
Everything he says, because he'll play ball with whoever he has to be. Soros Jr. That's what Soros did. Soros is like, I'm Jewish. Oh, they're attacking Jews and I'll survive. Okay, I'm not technically Jewish. I am actually a Nazi, you know? And then afterwards, I'm a big leftist. It doesn't matter. They just, whatever.
They don't care. They just want, it's about money.
Yeah.
It's about
whatever
money.
will make it work, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And they grease whatever machine they have to be a part of. If you were to study, just take one of those families and you go back to Krupps. The Krupps supported Russia, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United States. The major
They made sure they had the
players
arms to go to war.
Yes, they supplied them all and then backed up, and they were in Switzerland going like, we're neutral. By the way, since when did Switzerland care about that? One of the most efficient fighting forces on earth was a Swiss pikeman.
Well, they had the territory. Switzerland's got the territory like easily at that, you know, those time periods. They could really defend themselves in a sense. But now today's technology, no, but back then it would take a lot back in the World War II, World War I to actually invade Switzerland.
Yeah, Switzerland is protected by mountains.
Mm-hmm. Terrain means a lot. It still affect things now, even in a war. I mean, terrain right now affects war in Ukraine. They have to wait for the seasons to be able to actually move troops in. They get stuck in the mud.
Well,
literally.
Afghanistan is all mountains, and that means that they can go inside of these caves.
Insurgents.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's the thing. But like you said, I mean, all these wars, all these things, they'll fund both sides. They're making their money. People are dying. They don't care. These people are all monsters and sociopaths. They're controlling these things.
We were talking about on our show the other night, Jason, about how they're using these military sciences. It's not scientists, but the science, you know, to possibly put the souls of Nephilim into bioengineered bodies to create,
right.
You know,
We were talking about
perfectly
this.
possessed soldiers. I don't think this is a joke or a coincidence at all. And I think that what these people were seeing in Iraq, two different things. One is the Selawea, which is a type of witch that can transform into one of these creatures. One of the preferred transformations. Wait, hang on.
Sorry.
And here, it's connected. It's like the lechuza here in Hispanic culture. But over there, they like to change into this wolf-like being. It's like a skinwalker. That's one thing people were saying. But like people, that's like what Matt McCoy saw over there.
Yeah.
One of the things that people are saying, like this guy Paul that I interviewed, he was seeing. Damn, excuse me. I got this congestion. But one of the things that he was seeing was something that seemed more bioengineered, more sleek, more technologically advanced, and they were in groups of them. And now there's another thing they call whip dogs, which look like a hairless hyena with a ridge on its back. There is a lot of weird stuff out there.
We're talking Mesopotamia, Samaria, the beginning of what we know as civilization. All that goes back there, and I had Dr. Heather Lynn on here to talk about as an archaeologist, the stuff that our government went in there and was sending in these special contractors to recover ancient Mesopotamian relics. Some that were deemed not that as priceless compared to others that were left alone, but for some reason they had a list of stuff. There's plenty of soldiers have come out to talk about this, or contractors in a sense. What were they going after? Right, this ancient Babylonian religion artifacts. What do these rich people have this in their collections now from Iraq? Mm-hmm. What's their deal? Well, it's their ancient Babylonian religion they follow.
Well, if you look also at, like in Egypt right now, there's a lot of digging going on in the southwest. If you look at that, it's a desolate place where they have to ship water in, and it's very expensive. And one of my friends is down there, and they're unearthing all kinds of weird stuff, even giants. And of course, they have, certain
very strict controls over what you get to see there. Mike Ricksecker is somebody I have on the show, and he takes people to Egypt, and he's gotten to get access to some places they don't have on the normal tour.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But there's so much more than that they don't show you, that they know. Mm-hmm. I believe, especially in Egypt, that they keep very much hidden. and you're not going to get past. You're not going to get it. You can be an archaeologist or wherever, university, whatever. You're not going to have access to it.
They chisel it out of the walls. Mike's like, where's all these like missing pieces? They sell it to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
So they're literally stripping these places
and selling it to these really rich, powerful people that want it.
And some of these people that are reselling it in these markets and places like that around the world, I think one of them is one of the places that they're selling it is in Turkey. Because they play by by a different set of rules too. The Turks, very much like the Iranians, the Persians, they once had their own empires, and even though they're long gone, they still kind of act like they can do whatever they want, which is why there's so many problems with other countries. Like Turkey's always on the verge of a war with everybody around them. They were the
pretty
Ottomans.
much, yeah.
So
people, people are worried about too, like Göbekli Tepe. And these other, even more ancient sites now they're finding in Turkey that they could get destroyed because of the constant problems going on in Turkey and war that could happen there, that these ancient sites we could get this information from could be completely wiped out. And at the same time, they're also restricting access for people to get to these ancient sites to be able to study it. Why? I mean, China has some stuff too. They have some ancient sites and stuff they've shut. People got missing and evidence has got missing, like stuff that points out that we've been here a long time. There's been other civilizations that, me, I'm into the whole ancient alien thing. That the whole cover up isn't one government or university. It's massive. It goes to governments covering it up, multiple, so why? That's the question. Like why synchronicity on this? Why do they have this like they all agree? Why doesn't one government go, so no, we're going to reveal the truth. Here's our ancient alien stuff, They all seem to, some way, have reasons to keep it quiet or hide it or hide the giants or hide evidence of things that are just considered, that's not real. That didn't happen in history. But all the evidence is there.
Yeah.
It's in the dirt.
Absolutely. The Greeks they believed that Anatolia, which is now Turkey, but it was Anatolia, then the Ottoman Empire, and then it became, first, though, it was the Holy Roman Empire, that was the Greek side of it, basically, was Constantinople. And then, of course, it became, all these other incarnations. But that area was called Asia Minor. And it was known as the cradle of civilization. They believed that because of Bokuklu.
What we're finding now, it's the oldest site for that kind of architecture, which is beyond what we knew, what was officially told that we would be able to do. I have to end the show here, though. It's 1 a.m., and I have to be up in 5 hours. So thank you so much, Josh, for coming on here, because I know the last few days you have not felt well, and you had me on the show Friday, so thank you for that and coming on here, and thank you for your listeners tonight coming on here and making all those donations. It's so greatly appreciated. Thank you to everybody who subscribes and likes the show. It's so big, and Josh, you've been doing everything to try to promote this show, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, well, I enjoy it, dude, and I think you're good at what you do. I don't support people who I don't want to send my people, a dud. I'm not going to send them if somebody's not doing a good job. I'm not going to promote them.
Well, I can't promise every night's not going to be a dud. I've had definitely some dud shows. If I do, I apologize for future advanced dud shows, but I definitely have had some duds.
Not every show is going to be everybody's cup of tea.
No. Well, thank you so much, Josh. Again, next Sunday we'll probably open lines. You want to join us, you're more than welcome. Yeah. And thank you guys. Definitely next Sunday, same bad time, same bad channel, 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific time. Tune in. We're probably going to have open lines again because I seriously
I have
very
a guest
little guests.
for you if you want.
Send me, okay. Please.
All right.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Next Sunday, maybe we'll have a guest. Maybe because of Josh Turner. But thank you guys so much for this tonight. And again, the donations. Oh, there's another one. Slim Jimmy. Thank you. $9.99. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Truly feel the Paranormal Roundtable love tonight. Thank you guys so much. That's it for the show. Next Sunday, join us. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Follow and subscribe. Keep telling people about Paranormal Soup, where the weird happens live every Sunday night. And thank you. Patreon link is in the show if you want to join our Patreon. We're going to be doing more there. And maybe we'll have a YouTube membership coming soon. Thank you, guys. Have a great night. See you next Sunday.